1.21 gigawatts. Great God!
Shall we play a game?
Would you like a jelly baby?
Engage auto systems.
Aye. Engaged.
Clear all moorings.
Cleared, sir.
1/4 impulse power.
You know how to fly, don't you?
No. Do you?
Before we get started, does anyone want to get out?
Down here, it's our time. It's our time down here.
The Force will be with you, always.
Hi, and welcome to the Geek Hangout podcast. My name is Mark, and I'm joined tonight, as always, by my good friend and co-host, Grant. How you doing tonight, Grant?
Hey, Mark. How you doing? Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to the Geek Hangout podcast. This is episode 82 tonight. We got a nice show for you tonight. We're going to talk about the entire season of Loki. We've taken a little bit of a break, so Loki's over. We're all caught up. Full spoilers. We're going to talk about Loki. We managed to go see the Marvels, so we're going to talk about the Marvels tonight and give you our thoughts on that. And that's about it, right? And then we're going to talk about, and then as always, we're going to talk about what we've been up to, and I'll throw that over to Mark, and we'll see what's up with you. What's going on?
Well, there's been a lot. I've been always trying to catch up on things. So recently, I've been trying to catch up on the Doctor Who's 60th anniversary is coming out is this week. So it's November 25th. That's the 60th anniversary. So Doctor Who's got all this stuff coming out for the 60th anniversary, and I've been trying to kind of like catch up or remind myself of. Because it's David Tennant is coming back, and he's going to be something's going on with his former companion Donna Noble, who was Catherine Tate, and and so I candidly I don't remember anything about I remember watching those episodes, but I don't really remember a lot about it. So I was like, all right, let me go back and watch all the Donna Noble episodes and see make sure that I'm up to speed on everything that happened there, and. So I've really been enjoying it, and I think in the past, we've talked about it. I don't remember I remember thinking some of David Tennant's run wasn't my favorite,
right?
And I didn't love. I remember watching it and not loving his run, which is crazy because everybody loves David Tennant now.
Yeah, right.
And so now I'm going back and rewatching his episodes. They're really good. I don't know what I was thinking then. I don't know what.
Yeah,
I've been watching them and really been enjoying them. At least her run as the companion.
Yeah, right.
I've really been enjoying.
Did you watch them in real time, or did you watch them binge them? Do you remember?
I think I binged them.
Yeah, that's what I remember doing too. And I think what it was is that it's because I kind of have the same memory where it's it just kind of drug on a little bit. But I also, in hindsight, I also was binging it. And I was watching it on the treadmill. And I've said before, if I watch something on the treadmill, I tend to I don't enjoy it as much because I'm on the treadmill.
Right.
So it's one of those things where I'm I always wondered if, it's okay, you got to factor in the treadmill and the competitive or the repetitiveness of it all,
Yeah, right. But so I'm one episode away. I just have to finish one more episode, and that'll complete the Donna Noble series for me, at least.
Okay,
that'll complete that, and I've really been enjoying it. So it's really been great. I'm really looking forward to, this episode coming up. This is the trailer. We're gonna if you're watching on YouTube, we got the trailer running here.
Okay,
the trailer looks great.
Yeah.
And it looks. I'm excited to see why this doctor is back and all this. Also, we're finally getting Disney Plus stuff. So I think in the last episode I was complaining because I didn't know what was happening. We hadn't heard anything with Disney Plus.
Yeah, they were running radio silent there for a while. You're thinking they got this big anniversary coming up, and they got they're putting money into this and everything. And I was surprised we hadn't seen anything. But then a week or two later, this came out.
Yeah. So we're finally getting stuff. It looks really good. There's really a lot. There's a lot going on in the UK for the 60th anniversary, and they've been doing some really cool stuff. I mean, unfortunately, a lot of it is locked into the UK, if you have a, it's supposed to be just for UK people, but if you can sort of skirt around it, you can see it.
Right.
And so I've been able to see some of that too. Like they've been doing this really cool thing. They have they have this thing that's called Tales of the TARDIS, and it's really cool. And it's these episodes of old episodes of classic episodes of Doctor Who, right? And they take them and they bring back either the companions who are still around, or because we've lost 3 doctors, right? Like the John Pertwee and William Hartnell and Patrick Troughton are they're gone,
right?
But so they either bring back the companions or they bring back the doctors. And they have like a little, almost like a little episode, like a sort of a mini little episode with the current doctor, with that doctor and the companion, and they sort of are in the TARDIS and they're like, oh, the TARDIS wants us to tell this story, and so then they're like, well, we'll tell this story of this episode, and then they, it's like they lead into the episode and then it flashes to the episode and you see the old episode, right? And they play, what they've been doing, which is nice, is I think that old episodes, because some of those episodes were always like half-hour segments, right? And they were often 2 hours long, and in that kind of format, there's some fluff in there. And what they do is they kind of cut a lot of that out, so that it's a tighter story. You get the whole story. Plus, you get the little vignette at the beginning and the end with the and I thought that was really nice. Like it's been kind of cool.
Yeah, that's kind of neat. It's a neat way to sort of repackage it, and like you said, modernize it. Like if edit it together, make it more seamless or whatever,
Right. So that's really cool. They've been doing that, and there's like 6 or 7 of those, I think.
Okay.
And they do. I think I saw the William Hartnell one. I saw Patrick Troughton one, and then last night I just watched Colin Baker and Perry, and they had a little episode, and that was really and it's just good. First of all, it's good to see them again. You're like, these are my doctors, right?
Right.
And so it's good to see them back in the doing that. So that's really cool. What else did they do? They did a real short. It was for a. David Tennant did it. It's a real short, like little mini episode, I guess, of and it was for a charity, I can't. And they've done this kind of thing before.
It's like Children in Need, or is
Children in Need? Yes, that's exactly, because I'm looking here to see if I could find it, but I couldn't find it. But yes, that's what it is.
Look at me pulling that out of my.
I know. I'm impressed. I just saw this thing the other day. You know it.
I read it somewhere and I saw but I remember, like, when you said they have done that in the past, I remember seeing that, that must be their charity, you know what I mean? Or something that they do. Yeah.
So this was, so that just came out on the 17th and I watched it the other day, and it was just a 4-minute little episode. It was like, and it was really cool. Like they actually have Davros, who was the creator of the Daleks.
Right.
And it was like all before the Daleks were, active, and he had just created them, and it was really, and it's just fun, and it's funny, right? Like it's like it's just supposed to be fun. And Davros is there with one of his technicians, and the Dalek is sitting there, and it's got this, you know how they have like the suction cup arm,
right?
Well, it's got this arm on it that's real complicated and like hooks and look like it's a real thing. And they're talking, and then all of a sudden, like Davros leaves the room, and the doctor and the TARDIS like crashes into the room, right, and knocks off the arm. And by the end of the episode, the doctor goes back into the TARDIS and pulls out a plunger and puts it where the broken arm was. and that's the, so I just thought it was really funny. Like that was, so they're just doing that kind of stuff, and it's been really fun. So,
it's just, yeah.
And so I'm really looking forward to it. Like I'm going to be November 25th. I guess is that Thanksgiving? I guess it is, right? Is that Thursday? I don't even know what today is.
Oh, here I have it on my wrist. Let me see. No, not gonna work.
No, I don't think that is Thanksgiving Day. I think it's like right after
It's Saturday.
Saturday.
25th is
Okay.
Saturday.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch this Saturday night. I'm looking forward to it, and it should be fun.
Yeah,
I'm really
I
looking
think
forward
so.
to it.
Yeah, I think it sounds like it should be a lot of fun. I mean, you get David Tennant back, get some new Doctor Who adventures. I'm excited to see if hopefully it's seamless. I'm excited to see. I know Disney invested money into it, so like from the trailer alone, I thought it looked very like I thought it looked nice. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I mean, Doctor Who's gotten much, 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 much better,
yeah.
in recent years compared to the past, and in terms of what they have to work with and everything. But yeah, I thought it looked really good, so I'm excited to watch it too.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the Disney Plus thing. I should you and I were talking before, but like, yeah, what they're going to do is when the new Doctor starts,
Oh right, yeah,
like there's going to be these anniversary episodes. There's three of them, and then when the new Doctor starts, whose name I believe is pronounced, at least this is what based on another podcast I listened to, they call
right.
him Chudy Gatwa. That is the name of the new Doctor,
Okay,
and when his run as the Doctor begins, that's going to show up on Disney Plus as like season one.
right.
Like they don't want to put people off by thinking, oh, I got to go back and watch 60 years worth of Doctor Who. So it's going to
Yeah,
be like almost a soft reboot of the
yeah.
series. That's how they're looking at it.
Well, really, if you look at it like when they Christopher Eccleston when he started as a doctor. That was like
yeah, it's exactly right.
I mean, it had gone away for a while, but that was like a soft reboot when they brought him back, and or when they brought him as the when they brought the show back and they brought him. So it's kind of the same thing, I guess you could say.
It's right, exactly,
Yeah.
and it's sort of, and I think it was because they were like, well, let's see if this is successful, and then once it sort of took off, they were like, okay, then they started layering in some of the history.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably what they're going to do this time. Like the same kind of thing.
Yeah, and it was pretty successful last time,
Yeah.
I think, to do that because it's like you gotta make it stand on its own. Although it's Doctor Who, like you said, 60 years behind it, you bring it in, you make it stand on its own. People are interested. Then you can start to say, oh yeah, by the way, there's all these other stories out there.
Yeah, right.
You can start. I think that's a good idea. I think that would be a lot of fun to do that way.
Well, somebody told me this, and you'll appreciate this because, like, I was, I've been a fan since we were kids.
Yeah.
But like I saw somebody say something like, "New Doctor Who has been around as long as, it maybe even a little longer than old Doctor Who was around." Like which
really?
is like which I'm like, what? And it had. I mean, when this series came back in the early 2000s, so it's been like 20 years of what I consider new Doctor Who,
right. And then when we were watching it in the
it was 60
70s,
yeah, it was like
60s, 70s and 80s. Yeah, wow.
Isn't that a bizarre?
That is crazy. It was, yeah. It seems like so much longer because it was in black and white.
Because it was in black and white, it looked ancient.
Right. Because I mean, I kidded about it, but the budget was so low. Like on the show, the early shows especially, that that's it just felt wow.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Here, I'm looking it up.
Oh, okay.
It premiered in 1963.
63. All right, so
63, and then it was around until 1989.
Okay,
and then
it was gone that long.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize.
And it ended in 1980. I mean, I was still watching it because it was all the repeats in the 90s, but it wasn't. Right. It like the last episode was 89.
Oh, so yeah. I thought what was his name? Sylvester McCoy. I don't think I've seen very many of his episodes, and I thought he had gone on longer than 89. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So that's great.
When did they do that? The Fox movie? Then that was in the 90s too. Wasn't it?
I think that was like 1999 or something like that. Like it was really. Okay. They tried it. It didn't go well, and then they were like, "All right, forget about that," and then they rebooted it.
Then they sat on it for another 10 years probably.
Yeah.
And then no, that's interesting.
Yeah. And what I've actually heard, and it's this rumor, but there's a rumor out there that the Paul McGann, who's the doctor that was in the movie,
Right.
And he's always been part of the canon still. And there's a rumor that they're thinking about giving him a show.
Oh,
His own, even if it's like a mini, like I don't know if it's even like maybe a mini show or whatever. But
that could be fun.
He may get a series as the Doctor.
Oh, that could be pretty cool.
Which would be kind of neat because he was the Doctor that regenerated into the War Doctor that then went into the Time War.
So
it might be the lead up to that.
Yes. Well, the lead, because we do in that episode we do see they brought him back, right? We saw him regenerate.
We saw him regenerate into the War Doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That would be really cool, actually.
Yeah.
It'd be really neat if they could craft a story that would, like you said, the whole lead up. That'd be fun and like a little event. Like if they want, if they want to start getting, start doing event TV or something like that, that could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because he still does all the all of these guys do the they do those audio books.
Yeah, which
and I was listening to them pretty frequently before, and then I'm not in the car as often as I used to be, so I stopped buying them. But those are fun too. I mean, and all these guys do. I think even Tom Baker does them now.
That's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, I guess they obviously work and sell. So, I mean, I guess, it's the money's good. They're probably like, sure, I'll come back. And I mean, I think sometimes it takes, I feel like it takes some of them a little, with any fandom, it takes some of them, it takes a little while to wrap their head around it.
Yeah.
And then they seem to come back and be like, oh, okay. I now appreciate and enjoy this now,
Yeah. Right.
On the front end, they may not feel that way as much.
Yeah.
Because he said even Christopher Eccleston has come back. He's doing.
Yeah, he's come around.
Too. Yeah.
I would not be surprised if you see Christopher Eccleston in. I don't know about this season, but it would not surprise me or in these anniversary episodes, would not surprise me to see him pop up because he's been very receptive to Doctor Who fandom.
Yeah, that'd be really cool. That'd be nice, I think.
Yeah.
Especially with, because I know knowing that he wasn't that interested originally, and knowing that he left on I guess sour terms, but also that he was the one that brought it back the first time. It would be neat to see him meet the new Doctor now.
Yeah.
Then sort of bringing it kind of refreshing it, bringing it back again. So
yeah, it would be cool.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
So
yeah,
cool.
So if you're interested in Doctor Who, November 25th, the new season starts. So keep an eye out for it.
Cool. All right, sounds good.
Yeah, so that's what I've been up to. What have you been up to?
Oh, so I just been catching up on different various shows and stuff like that. I just wanted to talk briefly about I watched the new Blue Beetle movie came to HBO Max. And I watched that over what's today, Sunday. I watched that on I think it came on Friday. I watched it Friday night. And I just give it a little mini review. It wasn't, it wasn't the best movie in the world, but it wasn't terrible. I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed it. I had a good time. The effects all looked good. I mean, there was nothing to complain about. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the storyline. They, it's a little bit of a deep dive, but for me, I've always liked the character of Blue Beetle, and there's been different Blue Beetles over the years, and they did a really good job with respecting that history of the character. Like the current one is his name's Jaime Reyes. And this is his story. But then before him in the comics, there was a guy called Ted Cord, and he was my favorite. And then before him was another guy named Dan Garrett. So they paid respect to the previous Blue Beetles. At one point they're flying around and the Ted Cord Blue Beetles used to have a big bug
I definitely remember that. Yeah.
And so they're flying around in that at one point. And so I don't know. I got a kick out of it. I had a good time with it. It was fun. I mean, it was a little silly. There were certain parts that were a little silly, here or there or whatever. But I mean, I had fun.
Yeah, it looked good. I mean, when I saw the trailers for it, I was like, yeah, I just haven't had a chance to see it, but I was like, yeah, I'll watch that,
Yeah. And that's the thing, it's just right. A lot of it, I mean, it's, not everything is going to be like a big earth shattering, event. And I mean, it was fine. It was, it was fun, I don't know if my tone may be different if I had paid money and gone to the movie theater and
shelled out for it, right?
yeah, because that's more, but for watching on HBO, it was great. I mean, I liked it a lot for that. But I said the same thing about The Flash when that came to HBO. The same thing. I'm like, this is good. I liked it. I had a good time. But if I had gone to the movie theater, I may have been like,
Yeah, right,
But,
right.
so I don't know. I mean, they got Aquaman coming out next month. As a matter of fact, we saw a trailer in front of the Marvels for it, and a little bit of a tangent here, but I'm gonna say the trailer itself looked interesting. It didn't look like I had to see the movie, but it looked interesting, and the effects and everything looked good, and then all that. And in the back of my mind, I can't help but wonder. I'm like, the first Aquaman made like $1 billion. It was DC's biggest movie as far as I know.
Yeah.
Right. And maybe that in Wonder Woman, but still. And I'm like, this in a movie, like, I don't know what happened, but like, how do you blow $1 billion franchise?
I don't know.
But it definitely doesn't feel like this movie's like a must-see TV type of thing, And then there's like all these rumors about the like on-set shenanigans and like Jason Momoa is coming in drunk. And and you're just kind of like, what happened? But I think that just points to, I don't know about the filmmakers themselves, but I think it points to how much disarray is behind the scenes at Warner Brothers, because I think it's just a mess,
Yeah. I did. Well, and we're going to get into. It sounds like Marvel's not in the greatest shape either.
Right? So, yeah. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
We're going to talk about that, but it's a bizarre. It's funny. I was listening to a podcast after we saw the Marvels the other day. I think I was listening to Fat Man on Batman.
Okay.
The Kevin Smith one.
Yeah.
And the guy on that show pointed out, and I was like, you know what? He's not wrong. He's like, it almost feels like, because the comic books sort of go through this ebb and flow too, where it's like they're the biggest thing in the world, and then all of a sudden it like falls off, and then it picks up again, and he's like, it sort of seems like that's where we're at,
That's interesting.
In the same kind of like, it was like everybody's all into it, and then it kind of falls off, and then it picks up again, and it falls off.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
I was like, you know what? That's not a terrible. That's a good observation.
Yeah, right.
So
right. What goes? I mean, everything. Right. Everything has its day, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
They always come back.
Right.
It always comes back.
But yeah, there's always a law. I mean, yeah, you could. I mean, yeah, because you can't maintain, like that level of like excitement and like, you just can't maintain that for too long. Yeah. And really, like I said, if you talk about a case study, like go back and just look at Star Wars, where it's like they tried to start cranking out the Star Wars movies very close together.
Right.
And Star Wars fans aren't used to that. You know what I mean? We're used to waiting 3 years between movies and like, 10 years or however, or, what was it? 15 years between sagas and,
Right.
So it's like, it's just like, they rolled Solo out and it's like, whoa, this is too much.
I can't handle this.
I can't take this. Yeah. Right.
So.
Yeah. So anyway, that's
interesting.
Right. So, all right. Well, so yeah. That's all I had. So I guess we can get into,
you want to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess the biggest, we're just going to go into, looking at my thing to work here. This thing never cooperates. There we go. All right. That's
not going to work. We'll edit this out of the podcast.
There it is. All right. So I guess we'll start with Loki, right? Because we finally, and part of the reason the show was so long, because it was like these Loki and the Marvels came out so close together. It was like we had a very small window of time to record, and we were like, let's just wait until the Marvels comes out.
Yeah, it was right. It was really easier. And then Loki was only 6 episodes, so like we're going to record like I think on episode like 4, and we're like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Right. Wait another 2 weeks, it'll be ready. So. So anyway, Loki's done in the bag and all wrapped up, and we've talked about it a little bit off air, so to speak, but I'm going to throw it to you and ask you what you thought, and you give us your take.
I'm having technical difficulties here, bear with me.
Oh, I hear the volume.
Yeah. Why is it? gonna mute me. There we go. Sorry about this.
No, it's fine.
We'll edit that out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So what did I think of Loki? I love this show. I really got into it, and actually it's funny we talked about Doctor Who right before this, because you said to me at one point, and I was like, you know what, you're right. Loki did seem like had a lot of Doctor Who-esque elements to it, and I really liked it. I loved how it ended.
Yes.
I sort of enjoyed the whole ride. Like, I do agree. Like, I do see what like some of the criticism is that it took a while for it to like really get started. Like a lot of people like were like, I didn't quite understand what we were doing the first few episodes. I mean, it was like very high level. What was going on. But I enjoyed it. Like, I love the whole ride, and man, I just love Tom Hiddleston in this role.
He's
like,
great,
I just love him. I'm so happy he got this show, because it was like his thing,
Yes.
And he was just great in it. And man, I could go on. Like, I hope to see Loki again. I mean,
Right.
I certainly think we're going to.
I mean, if that was his ending, that's fine. I think it was worthy. But yes, I hope we see him again.
Yeah, he was just. It was just everybody in the show was so good. I really did.
Yes.
I loved all the characters. I thought him and Sylvie were great together. Him and Mobius were great together.
Yeah.
I like Ouroboros was great.
Yeah.
I mean, even Victor Timely he was a little strange, but he was a great character. Like, it was just really interesting. I just loved how they did it. I really did.
Yeah. I liked it, but I think I said to you, I liked it after it ended. But because like the first couple episodes, I grasped what they were doing and like hopping around, but like one, I thought it was going to have to do with Kang, and so I was really waiting for Kang. I thought Kang was going to show up. I thought there was going to be a more of an immediate payoff to because at the end of the episode, or at the end of season 1, like there's a statue of Kang, and I thought that's what was going to happen. So at first I'm like, what's going on? And then they were doing a lot of running around, and I'm like, is this filler? Like, what's happening here? Sorry about the dog. Yeah. And then and then I slowly started to realize, like, oh wait, they're building to something, and then I also realized, oh, we're getting Victor Timely, but we're not getting Kang. And once that got through, once I realized that, then I started to really enjoy it, because like it felt Doctor Who-ish, and they were running around, and instead of waiting for the big bad and like the big serious, I'm like, oh, this is just fun now. It's like it's a Doctor Who episode, like, because Doctor Who, it can be serious, but a lot of times it's just running around doing timey-wimey.
Right. And a lot of times they're talking about stuff that it
doesn't matter.
It's meaningless, right? Like, it's all just like tech speak, and they're, whatever.
Or the flux capacitor,
right. Exactly.
But once they wrapped it all up, and then once you realized where it was going, like, oh, Loki has to save the day himself, and he purposely did it. Like at the end of season 1, he was offered the throne because he remained. Didn't he offer Loki to take his place? And so basically, he for a character that was always after the throne in the previous Loki, and then now for him, it kind of came full circle where suddenly he realized, oh, I don't want to take the throne, but I'm gonna do this to save everybody. Like,
right.
I thought it was a really neat full circle moment for the character, and I really liked how it ended with that. And I did say to you at one point, I said, if they ever, taking the Doctor Who thing back to it, if they ever decided to end Doctor Who, the end of Loki would have been the perfect ending for Doctor Who, like with Doctor Who basically saving the timeline and being the what's Loki's new title, the God of Stories.
God of Stories, yeah.
So I thought that would have been a neat thing for Doctor Who, but it kind of works for Loki now too. I don't know, it was really good.
Yeah, I really liked it, and I don't know. I mean, it's just such a great, like, and I really do, like, I after it was over, I'm like, man, and now this Loki, who is not the Loki we know, because the Loki we know was killed. But this Loki is going to, you know that if he and Thor are going to have a moment at some point in the
I
future,
hope so.
and that's going to
Right?
be awesome, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
when Thor sees this variant of Loki, and how he's managed to hold the timelines together and all that. Like that's going to be a really cool moment, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
I'm trying to think. I can't. I probably shouldn't even bring it up, but saw something where it was like there was a scene where what movie is it that like Thor's holding Loki and he's like hanging off the Rainbow Bridge, right?
I think it's the first one. I think that
Or
was Thor.
Okay, and I said the Rainbow Bridge, but maybe the Bifrost Bridge or whatever. But anyway, he says something to him about like saving him. Something about I'm gonna cut this part out because I can't.
Yeah.
But it was something to the effect of like, you have to stop being so selfish, essentially. And then it kind of came full circle where now he's selfless by taking this role as the
Right.
time, the time guardian type of thing.
Yeah, and it was like and it was sort of like, it was kind of cool that, and it's like you said, like this character who has connived and tried to steal the throne and all this other stuff, and in the end, like, he doesn't really want it,
Right.
but he
Right.
takes it because that's how he can save everybody,
Right.
And I love that. I love that arc,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, if I have a criticism of the show, like, I think season 2 didn't spend as much time with Sylvie as we
Yes.
probably should. Like, because I loved her in the first season, and in this season she just wasn't around as much.
Yeah, and I couldn't figure that out. I read that the actress had a baby, and so I don't know if
Oh,
maybe
okay.
I don't know if she just wasn't as available. I don't know if she had health issues or anything like that. I don't know what the reason, but like in hindsight, I thought the same thing. I'm like, oh, I felt like she was a little bit, for having such a major role in this first season. I felt like she was a little sidelined, and I don't
Yeah.
know if that was how the story just broke down, or if there was more of a actress personnel type issue type with it.
Yeah, and they were so good together. Like, the two
Yes.
of them were very. No, I mean, not that he wasn't good with everybody else, but
But no, I
I
really
really
felt,
like the scenes with him and her.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, but I enjoyed the introduction of OB of what's his name? Short round.
Ki Hugh Kwan, right?
Kihu
Isn't it?
Kwan. I know, I'm terrible. I should know that.
Yeah, he's great. He was great. Like, I
He
hope
was
I
really
hope we
good.
see him again.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun. And I just saw, I think it was today, that apparently, I don't know if I saw a still, but I'm not sure if it was, apparently his characters has like some kind of belt on in this. He can't see it in that picture there. We're looking at the trailer on the thing, but apparently the picture I saw, he had some kind of belt type thing that was reminiscent of Data's belt from Goonies.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't see it in the trailer. So maybe it was just something he did on set or something like that. But I thought,
That's hysterical.
but I thought that was pretty funny. And now I see that, and I saw them interview him. He said, "Oh well, I'd like to try to be in the Star Wars universe next." So you're like, "All right, man,
We
come
need
on."
to make that happen. Make
I
that
know, right?
happen.
Bring him in.
I want to see Short Round everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, but like, what do you think? So, for the larger universe,
Okay.
so one of the big moments was, all right, that He Who Remains was like, well, no, you've got, the only way to save everybody is to kill Sylvie, right? And then Loki tried to, and that's how he came to he's like, well, I'm going to save the timelines, and he uses God powers, and then
Right.
so that's his way around what Kang's plan was, right?
Right.
But like, what do you think that means for the larger universe? And what is it like at the end of the episode? They have that like little brief exchange where they talk about, like, because like the TVA now seems to be like,
Right.
its job seems to be like just to keep its eyes on Kang
Right.
variants.
Yeah,
And
because they reference Ant-Man, they reference
right.
Quantumania. Yes.
And so what is that? What do you think that all means for the larger universe now? Like, what's
Well,
happening?
I mean, I imagine, so if the TVA's basically, their duty now is to just keep track of Kang variants that are going to be popping up and around. So, I mean, I guess if when Kang, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I guess if Kang or the real Kang or whatever the ultimate Kang threat is, I guess when it finally presents itself, the TVA is going to be part of that somehow.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it. And then by the extension after that, if Kang, if like say a bigger, badder version of Kang is the end, lack of a better word, end game, then does that mean that Loki will somehow be involved at that point? You know what I mean? Like,
right.
you know, so, but I'm not quite sure. I've heard some rumors that Mobius might be in the Deadpool 3 movie that's coming out.
Well, that was my other like, what happens to Mobius? What happens to like Sylvie goes off into a time door, right? At the end,
Yes,
she says, "Well, I'll just be walking around or whatever," and then she goes off somewhere. And then Mobius just is apparently on that world, right? Like that Earth, whatever Earth that is, or does he go?
I think the last time we see him, he's like looking from afar at himself and the kids with right at his family. Doesn't he say, "I'll stay here for a little bit longer"?
Right.
I mean, I guess they left that where it could be wide open, where it's like, does he stay? Well, he can't really stay because he was like looking at himself. So I guess that eventually he'll go back to the TVA.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what I'm guessing. And the reason I say that is because then I did hear that, like I said, he was going to be in Deadpool 3. So that would make sense,
Where did you, because I didn't hear that. So he's going to be in Deadpool.
It came across somewhere, I should say that's a rumor because I don't know if that's true. I read it somewhere and I'm like, oh, that would make sense because everybody's saying that Deadpool's going to revolve around the multiverse, obviously, because Wolverine's going to be in it, and
right.
So, but we kind of had this conversation the other day. We're kind of jumping the gun here a little tiny bit because of Marvels, but we're kind of confused a little bit about there's Loki and there's all the timelines and all the variants that way, and that's time. But then there's the multiverse,
right?
Which could be time and variance, but in my understanding was more like a different dimension. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So I feel like they're kind of intermixing with each other, and I'm not sure if it's on purpose. If they're considering like as an alternate timeline, also something that could be like an incursion type event.
Right. Yeah, and I don't know that they've, because I do think there's a distinction between the two of them. Like a multiverse is different than a different timeline.
That yes, and I'm not.
I think right. Like I mean, I believe that's true.
Yeah, if you asked me, you know what I mean, and just based on my years of reading comic books, especially the old DC comic books, and they're the ones that sort of originated the multiple Earths. Like in the old days, you'd have Earth 1, the Flash, if he vibrated hard enough, and he could go over and get himself to Earth 2, and that was like a parallel Earth, a parallel dimension,
right?
That looked a lot like ours. But then time travel and all that, if you went and messed with time, you were still in your like linear timeline. Right. Yeah.
Like in a timeline, your Loki is going to be like like Tom Hiddleston will always be Loki in a timeline, right? But if you go to a different dimension, or if you go to a different right, that's where you get your Sylvies and your Crocodile Loki and your
no, now that it's actually it is merging together, because when they were doing like Sylvie was not in a different dimension, she was in a different branch of the timeline.
Yeah, I don't know.
Right, and the alligator and all those other Lokis
right.
The time that they had zapped,
Right.
Right. So you have time variance, and then you're also going to have, like in Spider-Man, when he met those other Spider-Men, they weren't time variants. They were
right. They were all the same Spider-Man from different dimensions.
You're right, from different dimensions, which is more the multiverse.
Right.
So it's getting getting confusing. And maybe
they probably need to explain that a little bit better.
Yes, I think that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah.
Because right, we're geeks and we're into this stuff, and now we're thinking about it. And whereas like what's Joe Joe Average out there like, what is happening?
Yeah, right, right.
So that's interesting now that you say it. And we'll probably talk about that some more after we talk about Marvels, just because we're going to talk about sort of the future of Marvel and what we think.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I really enjoyed the show, and if you ask me, I think they've of what I've seen from Marvel TV,
right.
I think Loki is among the best that they've done. It's Loki, and I really liked WandaVision. I thought that was a really good show.
I guess.
I think I really liked Moon Knight, but now it's sort of like I really liked Moonlight, but I couldn't tell you anything that happened. Like I almost have to go back and rewatch it now.
Yeah.
I feel that way. I feel that way about Ant-Man too. Like I didn't, we'll talk about it. Yeah, Quantumania.
Yeah.
Like I didn't hate that movie, but then like now I'm sort of like I don't really remember a lot that went on in it either. So I don't know.
I felt I just remember with that it was like I didn't feel like there's much characterization of Ant-Man. And I was thinking about that the other day. I felt like that movie was like it wasn't as funny as the other ones, and it didn't have Luis and
Right.
like his other and like because Luis was like what's his name, Michael Pena, I think is written.
Yeah.
He's like hysterical, and I feel like it was missing a lot of that. And like in hindsight, when I think about it, I'm like they went into the what's the subatomic? Is there a name for that?
There is, but I can't think of it.
I'm blanking on the name of it. But they went into the
quantum
realm, the quantum mania. That would make sense.
Yeah.
They went into, pardon me, they went into the quantum realm, and like he's like, oh, I want to save it. It was just all like it was like, oh, I want to save my daughter. I felt very one note, like
Yeah.
And then you had the old people like the old Michelle Pfeiffer and Michael Douglas are in there. It just felt very I don't know, like it didn't feel like for all the stuff that was going on, it didn't really feel like much really did go on.
Yeah, it was very disjointed.
Yeah. And then at the end of the day, Kang, who was supposed to be this big, horrible, also is beaten by Ant-Man. And on one hand, you're like, that's kind of cool. But on the flip side, I'm like, Ant-Man beat Kang? Like,
right.
Like, I mean, by nature, he's a sillier, jokier character. And it just seemed odd that, it just seemed, I don't know. It was I remember one part of it. It was like he was like beating up Ant-Man. Kang was beating up Ant-Man. I remember he kicks his helmet and they have a camera shot from in the helmet and his mask like it cracks or something.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing that in the trailer at one point, being like, oh, like, but it never panned out that way. It never,
it never was like, yeah. I imagined he was going to be a bigger threat than he was.
Yes. And so I think that was part of the problem too.
Yeah.
But back to the TV shows and stuff. Yeah. Everything has been, well, this goes like what I was saying about Blue Beetle and stuff. Everything has been, I mean, nothing has been horrible. I mean, some stuff has been less than fine, but most everything has been fine. Like I'm entertained. I find something in there I enjoy, something in there I like. A lot of times I'd be like, oh, I may have done this different, or this probably should have been 2 episodes shorter or whatever. But like I've liked everything, but nothing's been, like I gotta see this, like it's very rare to come out of something like and just be super pumped, like I can't wait for what's next because it doesn't feel like they're kind of all over the place with that stuff,
Yeah, like I think back to the Falcon and Winter Soldier and it was a good show. I mean, I remember there were elements of that show I really liked.
Yes.
But then a lot of it was just sort of okay, like, and I feel the same way. Like I haven't hated anything.
Right.
I haven't like there's a lot I haven't loved, but there isn't anything I've really like been like, oh, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It's just some of it's kind of forgettable. Like that's kind of where it's.
Yeah, exactly. It's that goes to I think that goes to the point of we're going to talk more about it later, but we're sort of talking about now is like Marvel. I mean, they start putting out more movies and then more shows and everything. It was just all about the content. But so eventually everything became like it wasn't special. Everything was fine.
Yeah.
And like it lost its the momentum because it was just always there.
Yeah.
There's always a TV show, and there was no, it didn't feel as driven as it was before, and yeah, you didn't have that. Like a lot of the stuff, like all the end credits used to be like big cliffhangers, like like who's coming or what's coming next, and now it's like it kind of is, but I don't know. I feel like for a while now the end credits haven't been that way at all. Until we're gonna talk about Marvels. Marvels finally did that again. Where
Right. Right.
the end credits were good on Marvels.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, why don't we start talking about the Marvels and then we'll get into the article thing. Okay. All right. So are we good? Loki, you have anything else?
Yeah. Loki. I mean, just to sum it up, I enjoyed it. For me personally, I enjoyed the second half more, and I think once I wrap my head around it, I enjoyed the whole show type of thing.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I don't.
You said you were more along for the whole ride, and so I wish I could have been that way.
Yeah, I really was. Like I do think I think that's part of it. Like it had sort of like Doctor Who-y elements to it, and and I was in, right. Like I've always sort of liked that show, and and this had a lot of that to it. So I was in the whole way. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah.
So all right. But that's But I don't think we'll get a 3, right? Like we're not going to get season 3.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so from both. I mean, they did give him an ending, so I don't think that way. But also, I think from what way I've read that Disney and Marvel they're gonna start, instead of doing shows like this, they're gonna go to more of a traditional TV show route, where it's gonna be like instead of like these events, I think it's gonna be more like a show. It's gonna be more. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, but I don't. So basically, my point is, I don't think we're going to get another season of Loki because I think they're changing gears on their end.
Right. And I think, and if we get him again, I think it'll be probably like the Kang Dynasty if they're still doing that, like if that's the route they start going.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. Let's talk about Marvels, and then
let's go to Marvel.
Stop tiptoeing around.
Yeah, and then we can just talk about what we're tiptoeing around.
All right. So, so we saw Marvels on we went and saw Thursday night.
Yes.
Yeah. So, no, I'll start for this one. I guess again, it was fine. It was, I enjoyed it. There were elements I really liked. There were elements that I thought were silly, that maybe were a little bit over the top for me. I thought the cast all worked great together. I found like Captain Marvel herself, I found much more interesting, I feel like, this time around than last time, because she had people to sort of bounce off of. Like, and but I mean, it's, if you're on the fence about it, I know it's not doing well at the box office. If you're on the fence about it, I mean, it's just a fun movie. It's just a fun, you don't have to you don't have to have seen WandaVision. You don't have to have seen Ms. Marvel, the TV shows. It helps.
Yeah, it helps. But it's not.
Yeah, but I mean, they explain it. I mean, because Monica Rambeau and Captain Marvel meet for they're estranged, and they kind of get together, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I passed through a witch's hex and I got these powers." And Captain Marvel's like, "What?"
You could watch one of those recaps on YouTube of WandaVision and Miss Marvel,
and be totally up to speed.
And be fine.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, on Disney Plus they have those Marvel Legends thing or whatever it is.
Yeah,
they recap it perfectly because it's like 3 minutes or whatever, and they just but so I liked it and stuff. I mean, I didn't care for the bad guy. She was a little bit like she was sort of like she was the new, I believe she was the new version of Ronan the Accuser.
Yeah,
and I never really like, and I never really I don't want to say I understood what she was doing, but I don't really know why it mattered per se. You know what I mean? Like I don't her motivations, I guess, is the best way to say it.
Yeah.
She was like she was trying to save Hala, which is the Kree home planet, by attacking other planets and like taking their atmosphere and taking their water. And it's big heady stuff, but I mean, I got what she was doing, but I don't know, I didn't find her believable or just very interesting.
Yeah, she wasn't the best. I mean,
Yeah,
and it was, and I think part of that was, and because I agree with you, like I went into, I was actually, this was going to be the first Marvel movie. I was like, I'd heard such terrible things, and it didn't seem like it was going well, and I was like, you know what, I don't even know if I'm going to go see it.
yeah.
None of my family really cared.
No.
We usually go see these movies together. None of them really had any interest in seeing it. So I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll just wait for this one to come to streaming. But
Yeah.
like, we were talking, we're like, oh, it's a night out, let's go.
Right.
And uh and I ended up really enjoying it. Like I mean, it wasn't, like you say, it's not my favorite Marvel movie,
Right.
but like I'll tell you, for the however long we were in there, it was under 2 hours.
Yeah.
I was entertained. I mean,
Right.
it wasn't like this movie's a disaster.
No, no.
I mean, that's
right.
they make it sound like it's, the
Oh,
way they're talking about it at the box office, how because I know it's not doing well.
Yeah.
The way they're talking about it, it's like, oh, this movie's a complete disaster and it's
Yeah.
a mess, and it's not that. It's
No.
a fine movie,
Right. Yeah. They make it seem unwatchable. And I'm like, it
Right.
wasn't unwatchable.
Not at
Yeah,
all.
I don't know.
Not at all. I mean, there's like you're saying, there's elements about it I really liked. There was elements about it I didn't love.
Yeah. Yeah.
But on the whole, it was, we had a
it was a
we
fun night
watched
out.
it. It was
Yeah,
a fun night
right.
out, and it was a good
Uh-huh.
movie.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, if you're on the fence, go check it out. It's not terrible.
Right.
It's a good movie. So, I was most concerned about the three of them, right? Like I was
Right.
kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like the switching thing, because it seemed that gave me thoughts of like all those like 80s like body switching movies,
Freaky Friday type.
Freaky
Yeah,
Friday,
yeah,
that
yeah.
kind of thing. And I was like, I don't know if
Yes.
I don't know how I feel about that, but it really wasn't that at all. And
Right.
and it actually, like, it was really cool, like during the fight scenes.
Oh, when
uh,
once they figured out they were switching places when they were using
yeah,
their
like
powers.
that was
Yeah.
really cool, like that initial fight scene in the Ms. Marvel's house,
Right.
when they were like, they didn't know what they were doing, and they were like flipping in and out, and
That was, yeah.
just like, it was a really good fight scene. That was
Right.
it was really, really well done.
Yeah. No, I like that. I thought that was good.
And then once they learned, it was even better. Like, they
Yeah.
switch, and like I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was like clever. I mean, I don't know. I liked it too. But yeah, I would agree that the trailers may have done a disservice, because it almost made you think like, what, the whole movie's gonna be Freaky Friday. They're just switching
Right.
And that's maybe the first half hour of the movie at the most.
Yeah, and not even, and it's really not that at all.
It's like, right, it's like the gimmick. It's the really, that's the gimmick to make them come together.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's a reason for it in the story, but like, you know what I mean? That's, you're like, all right, how are we gonna get these characters together? And so I don't know. I thought it was clever. I like, I like that part of it.
And I do think, like, I think I liked Brie Larson as Captain Marvel, like you're saying, with other people. Like I felt like she was better with the other two.
Yes. Yeah, because she plays the character, and I mean, it's she plays her rather serious, rather stoic, I guess you could say. And on the first movie, I remember I kind of, I don't want to say I found her unlikable, but I didn't find her likable. And I'm just like, I'm like, what? And I remember thinking, like, I think that's what
I didn't warm up to her like I warm up to other Marvel characters.
Yeah,
in the universe, like you're like, oh, I feel like I know. You can this.
Yeah,
I can kind of, I kind of know this person. Like, she was really
like
a little standoffish.
That's a good way to say it. Yeah, and it was, but once you got her here and bouncing around with these other characters, she still is more. She's the straight man. She's the
right.
She's
right.
But it was very, very, it lent itself to the other characters being there. You know what I mean? Because like, Ms. Marvel was a trip, and she was like freaking out, and all this stuff in a good fun way, as like a kid should. And then Monica Rambeau was good because she was very smart, like, and
right.
I don't know. I thought it was. I mean, it made it enjoyable to see them bouncing off each other and reacting to it, and you felt like you got to know her better.
Yeah, I mean, I came home and I was like, and I told my my wife and my daughter. I was like, you guys might like this movie. Like you might want to go. Maybe next week if we have time, we can all go see it because I think you guys will like it. It's not. It's a good movie.
Right.
It's not.
I know.
It's not what you. It's not the way it's portrayed, and in all the entertainment. Certainly, the YouTube videos, don't.
Oh.
I mean, watch our YouTube video, but not everybody else.
Not the. I know. I mean, a little aside, but like, I just can't believe like the amount of people that like can dedicate to all their time and energy to something that they don't like.
I know.
You're right. We make these videos because we like this stuff. But like, I can't imagine coming on here and being like, I hated this. It was awful.
Right. And like picking apart every like little thing.
I mean, we could talk about it and I can say, oh, I didn't like this or that. But I mean, I just can't imagine dedicating like, hours of my life to be something that I hate. I mean, well, just stop watching it.
Yeah. Right.
Anyway. So, but so the movie itself, I would say, perfectly fine movie, very enjoyable. A fun night out. Nothing earth shattering. As we start to branch into the bigger Marvel universe, I did enjoy that this movie brought those three characters together because, like, everything was sort of, you had the Captain Marvel movie, then you had the WandaVision with Monica Rambeau.
Yeah,
I believe they never say it in the movie, but I believe her name is Photon. I think that's what they end up calling her.
Yeah, they never name her. That was part of the thing because you keep waiting for her to get named, and she didn't get named. But it is Photon. I always thought it was Photon. That's what I thought.
Okay, and then Ms. Marvel. So it was nice to see those elements brought together under this movie. So it's like it's sort of set that up to sort of say like, okay, like we're starting because like we were saying before, like Marvel started spreading out and there's so much content. It's kind of nice to see them start to bring some stuff back together. And while they're not an official team, now they're related. Now they're together. So like it to make sense now they're starting to build something back, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Well, it's ironic that this is it's funny that this is the movie,
right?
That they do the thing that we've been waiting for them to do for like 2 years,
right?
Yeah. And this was the movie I was going to skip.
Yeah.
right. And it's like, well, where have you guys been?
Yeah,
right.
I mean, I know with this is phase 5 now.
I think it is. I know.
I've lost track. But yeah, I mean, I know phase 4 was all about. No, it is phase 5 now, right? Because we thought Ant-Man was going to be the big, But so like phase 4 was all about experimenting and introducing new characters, and that's fine. And then we thought phase 5 was going to be more about, starting to gear things up again and start heading towards the next Avengers movie. And Ant-Man didn't feel that way. Guardians was its own thing, and then Then there's this. There's nothing after Guardians, right? Or when did Thor come out? Was that this? That was just over the summer? No,
that was last summer.
Okay,
I think that was last. Yeah, we were on a cruise when that.
Came out. Right. That's right. Okay, right. So then, yeah. So, but anyway, so yeah. So the movie itself starting to bring different elements together and stuff. As an aside, now something I will say. I just got done saying I won't talk about stuff I don't like, but something I will say is I felt this movie, and you had an explanation for this because we talked about this, but I felt this movie pretty much made the Secret Invasion TV show like inconsequential.
Yeah.
Like, that show wasn't good. That was not their best show, but like it didn't, you're sort of like, when you're watching this, you're like, well, what was that show about? Because they go to another planet and there's Kree on the other planet. And like, it didn't line up correctly with what we knew about Secret Invasion. But then you told me the other night that you read about
this movie had been delayed several times.
Okay.
So this movie was originally scheduled to come out before Ant-Man, Quantumania.
Okay.
And they reshuffled it because when they looked at everything, they felt that Ant-Man was further along, so that should come out first. So then they reshuffled the schedule. Ant-Man came out first. This was then supposed to come out in July of this year, but then they pushed it back even from that.
Okay.
And and then it came, then it came out now. So it's originally you would have seen this first, and then it seen Secret Invasion at some point after it,
And
which
that
would have made a little bit more sense, which would have made Fury make a little bit more sense.
Yeah,
in the universe, but like the way it came out, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because in that show he's like all dour and miserable, and in here he's kind of like Fury, like he's the Fury we all know and love, and he's
making wise cracks,
right. So it's very just like, well, how did we go from the miserable Fury to the happy Fury like a couple months later?
Right.
That's what it is.
I said maybe when eventually everything will end up on Disney Plus, maybe then on Disney Plus they have like they have like a timeline order, or they have like the and I wonder if like they'll shuffle them around. Once it's on Disney Plus, you can do that, and I wonder if they would shuffle it around to put it where it should be, because technically maybe this movie did take place before Secret Invasion. We just don't know that yet.
Right.
Yes, it was released afterwards, but I don't know.
Yeah,
but that goes to the other thing where it's like, we figure like Marvel's just spread too thin now, where it's like you're trying to keep everything linked up, and that's great, but if you have these big projects and these big moving pieces, all of a sudden now you begin to realize like it's not nearly as tight as it used to be.
And I think that's part of their like, I feel like this movie, I feel bad for this movie and the people involved in it, because I feel like they got the brunt of something that wasn't necessarily their fault. Sort of, it's not unlike what happened to Solo. Like Solo wasn't a bad movie as much as everybody complained about it. It's not. It wasn't a terrible movie. It was just that at that point everybody was done.
Yeah,
like it got the blowback from all the bitterness from
Last Jedi.
Last Jedi was heaped on Solo because it came out like 2 months later.
Right.
And and I feel like this movie's getting that same treatment, right? Like this is not a terrible movie, right? Like it if you like Marvel, go see this movie, because you'll probably like this movie.
Right.
But it's getting like all this blowback from all the things that weren't as good.
Right.
It is being heaped on this movie, and it's unfortunate, but I think that's what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I know. So here, let's talk about the end credit scenes, and then then we can delve into more about the Marvel in general. But so there's 2 end credit scenes for this movie, and then by now full spoilers, and just in case you hadn't figured that out. But so the first one is a Young Avengers teaser. And that's at the very end of the movie, I believe. Yeah,
that's not even. It's really like it's right before the credits.
Yeah,
it's like
so it's like at the end of the movie end credit or whatever.
Yeah.
But so they have Ms. Marvel, and she's in Hawkeye's like I guess her apartment, because the Hawkeye, and this is the Haley Steinfeld's Hawkeye, so it's Hawkeye Jr. I don't know what they're gonna. I know her name. She's eventually gonna just be Hawkeye, but she walks in, she gives the dog a piece of pizza or whatever, and then Ms. Marvel's there waiting for her, and she's all It's a cute scene. She's like shadowed, and she's trying to pretend like play like a Nick Fury type character.
Yeah, right.
And then the light comes on, and she's like, "Oh, hi! Like, do you want to team up or something?" And she goes, "I think Ant-Man has a daughter." They're starting down the Young Avengers path there, which has been rumored for quite some time now. And so it was nice again to see that it had been rumored, but now it's nice to see that there's a start for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Which and again, it was like the first. Like, okay, this is what we've been waiting. Like, where has this been? Like, why has it taken us so long to see something like this?
Yes,
so that was kind of nice.
That was really I really liked that, just for that reason. Again, it's like finally, like, okay, here we go. And then for Young Avengers, we said now there would be from the originals, there'd be Ironheart. Is good if it even happens at this point, but she features so prominently in Black Panther that she could be the fill-in for the Young Avengers for Iron Man.
Right.
And Captain America, Isaiah Bradley's grandson.
right? Who we
He
met
would-
in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yes, and he goes by the name Patriot. When that happens, but he would be there. Um, Hawkeye's there. Black Widow would be, I guess she's calling herself the White Widow, maybe. So she may
And
be.
that's her sister, right? Like that.
That's Black Widow's sister, Yelena, right? Um, Hawk has his son that we saw the one end of the She-Hulk episode.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, right.
I don't know if these guys are actually part of the comic book version of Young Avengers. I know some of them are, but
these are all kids. Yeah, these are all kids that have been introduced that could potentially be part of the team.
Right, and then Wanda has her 2 kids.
Right.
Although they're not real yet, right?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
That was a whole That's what she snapped because they went away and then she right. But that was another disconnect though. WandaVision was like sort of the story of Wanda creating that area and getting better, and then all of a sudden, the Doctor Strange movie comes out, she's evil.
Yeah.
And it was like a bit of a disconnect. You're like, wait, I just watched a whole series about her being, sort of redeeming herself. So, it's one of those things where it's like, again, they want everything to connect and matter, but the way things line up. And that was COVID, so I cut people some slack for that too.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's a lot of kids out there, Marvel, children that can be part of this whole Young Avengers thing. So if that's the direction they wanted to go in, that would be.
That would be kind of cool.
And a smart way, being that Iron Man died and Captain America's missing or whatever he is, it'd be a smart way to keep things going that way.
Right.
So I like that. I thought that was
I really like that. And then we got the second one, which is even better than the first one.
Right.
I thought.
Right. I did too. So the second one, Monica Rambeau's character, we'll call her Photon. She ends up in, going back to other things, another
dimension, right? Not a timeline,
right? So they're basically the thing of the movie is something, a hole gets ripped in time and space, and they can see through, and they see another Earth, and they're like, well, that's not our Earth, but to seal it up, Photon goes through from the other side, seals it up, sacrificing herself, and she wakes up on that Earth in a hospital room, and the actress that played her mom in the regular Marvel universe, who has since passed away, the character, not the actress, is sitting there, and Monica Rambeau's all like, "Mom, I've missed you," and the mom, this character is like, "Okay, like what's going on here?" She has no recollection who she is, and then you realize, okay, this is the different universe. This character in the universe is called Binary. I don't know anything about Binary. Okay. I have, I've heard her name thrown around, but I've never, I don't know anything else about her. But then the kicker is, you realize that she's on the other Earth, but then the kicker is the Beast from X-Men walks in, and he's, if you don't know, he's the blue, hairy, fuzzy guy. He walks in, and he's like, "Oh, you're on another Earth, basically. Our studies show that you're from a different Earth." He goes, "That's impossible."
Yeah.
So, but now they finally introduced the Fox version of the X-Men into the Marvel universe.
Yeah. And the Beast is Kelsey Grammer, as he was in the films.
Yes. So so that was very exciting, I thought, because we knew that Wolverine. I'm blanking on Wolverine's name. Hugh
Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. We knew he was going to be in the Deadpool movie, but I wasn't quite sure how that was going to work. So this just opened the door for that, and I thought that was very, very cool.
Yeah, and it's funny that like it's seemingly going to be Deadpool that is the first to dabble in that. Like we've been dying to get X-Men and Fantastic Four and all this other stuff,
right?
And the first movie to sort of dabble in it is going to be Deadpool, which is, I think is going to be kind of funny. Now I mean, this is Disney's Deadpool, so it's going to be PG, right?
I think
or PG-13 at worst.
I mean, most of their movies are PG-13, I believe. I think I don't know what Marvel's was, but I know like Thor and Endgame, they're all PG-13, I believe.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Deadpool was definitely 1 and 2 or R. So
right.
I think I read that Disney was going to let it be R, but I'm not sure. And like now I'm kind of like it's on one hand, make it rated R. Let's laugh and have fun because those movies are funny and
Yes.
and they are rated R. But it's like it's like well, if suddenly you're gonna do a Fox X-Men incursion into the Marvel universe, you can't really have that movie rated R because that seems like it's going to be important.
Right.
You know,
See, that's where I'm a little
yeah.
concerned.
Unless they're going to dance around it, unless it's going to be, you know, like an adventure basically with Deadpool and Wolverine, and it'll be just a fun comedy hour type of thing. But
Right, and it's not going to
maybe
deal with any. It's going to play in the arena, but not deal with anything like
right.
key to the.
I've heard. I mean, there's all kinds of rumors now, but I heard a rumor that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man might show up in that now.
I heard the same. I heard the
Right.
same.
But it's a Marvel movie, so of course everybody's going to be rumored to appear. You know what I mean? Because like that's just the way everybody operates now. It's Mephisto all over again.
Right. Right.
Yeah. But anyway, but what if it were me? I would probably say let it be rated R. Let's go have a fun time because if you're a fan of Deadpool and you're gonna go see it, you got two others in the can already that are rated R. So it's like go have some fun. And then the end credit scene of that movie, I would be like, then that would be the incursion if that's the direction they're going to head in. Then that would be so then you have a big adventure, but at the end you're like, oh, they messed basically. Oh, Deadpool broke something.
Right. Right.
So yeah, so I think that's what it might be.
Okay.
But I mean, those movies make a lot of money, and so they could, and they did it last time when Deadpool 2 came out. I remember they did release a PG-13
Yeah,
version,
they did. Right.
and everyone was sort of like, "What's this? What's going on here?" So, I don't know.
Yeah. Those movies are great.
Yeah,
Those Deadpool
right.
movies are great. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where that movie's going to go and all that stuff. And I mean, the I like I like I'm a big fan of I like time travel and all that, but I like the multiple Earths angle too. And so just the idea that they open the rip and they're like, well, that's another Earth, but that's the X-Men Earth. They didn't say that, but like you kind of and that's why I like the Spider-Man No Way Home because again these other guys show up. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm so happy that they finally I don't know, and I get why they didn't bring in X-Men or Fantastic Four up to this point because, I mean, these movies have been in development for a few years.
Sure,
that deal probably wasn't closed yet, right? Like I get why they didn't do that before, but I don't understand why they didn't make the end credit scenes more impactful up to this point.
Yes.
Or because that's what that's kind of the fun of those first few phases was you were like, oh my god, this is what's next, right? Like we got to go see this next thing because it was like they left those they sort of left you on the rope there, right? And they just didn't do that this time, and I don't know what they were doing.
I mean, it could be as simple as with so much, like we were saying, with so much content coming out, maybe they didn't know what
that's true.
If you look at the first phase 1 and 2, the end credits were breadcrumbs, and it's like, hey, here's some breadcrumbs. Follow this to the next adventure type of thing.
Right.
Whereas with now by phase 4, I mean, everything's stretched so thin. They may not have known what to promote next because they're like, we don't know. We
don't even know what's coming next. Right. That's a good point.
We don't know what's going to be ready first, so we don't want to tell you to go, tease, Ant-Man when it's not ready yet or whatever. So it could have been something like that. It could have been, I don't know. Maybe they just didn't want to repeat themselves. They were trying something different. But in my mind, that's the end credits they're important. We sit there for a reason because we want to see it because we want to know what is next.
Right.
And a lot of them have been, I can't even really remember, but a lot of them haven't felt very important at all. I mean, we were constantly, waiting, and
I can't even tell you any that we've seen that have been I couldn't tell you what the Quantumania ones were. I couldn't tell you what the Doctor Strange ones were. Like none of them were very impactful. They were all just sort of like they were almost like well the Doctor Strange one who shows up. Somebody shows up
Clea,
and he's got the eye in his head.
yeah, right.
But
And
like
but
you
even
know,
that, yeah, that she shows up and she's like, "Oh, is that where she does she say where there's an
I think that's where we got incursion from.
Okay. You're right. So then they're off to that, but then like that was 2 years ago, right? At
Right.
this point, like where's the payoff for that? I mean, finally, we said, finally in this one we saw it wasn't even an incursion. We just saw the idea of like, oh, there's other worlds out, other parallel worlds. So yeah, so they started right. They were dropping breadcrumbs for things that weren't even remotely ready yet.
Yeah.
And then I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind the I like having the two end credits because one can be silly. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I mean, one of the Avengers, them eating the shawarma is still one of the best ones.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it does nothing, but it's awesome because you're like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Or like the Captain America where he comes out with his chair at the end. So what do you say? So you thought you were?
Yeah.
They're funny. Some of them were funny, and I have no problem with that. But then it's always nice to get another one where it's like, oh, here's what's next. Here's Thanos.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I don't know. So I know for Marvel, we're gonna get Echo is gonna come out and it's a TV show, and that'll be, I believe, I read December or January.
I don't know.
I'll see if I can.
I know from what I understand, we're only getting. I mean, now because starting next year, we're going to be dealing with the writer strike,
right?
Stuff. So I mean, we're probably not getting much of anything next year. Like I think the only Marvel movie in right now is Deadpool. Like that's the only Marvel movie coming out next year.
As of right now, that is that's will be the only Marvel movie next year.
But as for TV shows, I know Echo is supposed to come up, but I don't know anything else.
I'm just looking here really quick. Of course, I got to scroll down here. Oh, there's the dog again. Let's see. I gotta edit this out because I can't find it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think this article says. Let me see. I probably shouldn't have even bothered, but here and when. All right. I got it. All right, so Echo comes out January 10th of 2024. So it'll be in the new year. And it's going to debut on Hulu. Oh, wait a minute here. Oh, it'll be on Disney Plus and Hulu simultaneously, and it's going to have a TVMA rating. So it's going to be their first mature TV show.
Oh, okay.
And I think you're the one that told me that they're going to call it a Spotlight series or something.
I thought, yeah. So what I heard, and I'm trying to confirm it as I'm walking, is that they're going to start coming out with, because there's a lot of confusion about what you have to see and what you don't have to see, right. That they had come up with this idea of a Marvel Spotlight banner, right? Which will lead into, and that banner will be in front of shows that you don't necessarily need to see in order to understand what's going on in the main storyline of like the films and things, which I think, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a good idea. But I don't know, is that going to cause even more confusion now? Like, I don't know what that does. I think it's a great idea because I do think there are shows that are coming out that are like, I think a lot of people are watching all the content coming out and being like, well, I'll never catch up now.
Yeah.
Like before you had to see, in the first phases, you needed to, not that you needed to see everything, but you wanted to see everything so that you understood what was going on the next time, right?
Yeah.
And now there's so much that it's
Right.
really difficult to keep up with it. I mean, we have trouble keeping up with it. I have
Right.
trouble keeping
Yeah.
up with it. And you know, and we're huge fans, but it's like I can't always like just because it came out, just because it comes out every Thursday or whatever it
Right.
comes
Yeah.
out,
You don't get a
doesn't mean I
chance.
can sit down and watch it every Thursday, right?
Right. Right.
And so I have trouble keeping up. And I think so. What the Marvel Spotlight banner is designed to do is be like, look, if you don't have time, you can miss this one and it's going to be fine. Like you'll
Right.
understand what
Yeah.
else is going on. And I think that's the idea of the Marvel Spotlight. And I thought I heard that Echo was going to be the first one in that they're
Okay.
using that for.
All right. Yeah, I mean, that would be good because, I mean, like you said, I especially for this Marvels movie, I heard a lot of people complaining, saying like, "Oh, I don't want to have homework before I go see a movie."
Right.
You
And
know,
it is starting to feel that way. I mean, we talk about it, right?
yeah,
It's
because a lot of the stuff you're like, this is, the show's okay, I enjoy it, but it's like it's okay, but right, you're like, you thought you had to watch it, and really you don't. You don't need to.
right.
It's um, yeah, so maybe that's what they're going to try to do. Maybe try to make some more traditional TV show type things, and then if they connect, or they'll probably be more like sub level type of things, almost like the old Netflix Daredevil was, where it's like they tried to pretend it was in the same universe. They didn't do a very good job of it, but they tried. Or they always reference the Battle of New York and stuff like that. So I wonder if we're going to see more of that, where it's like, all right, this show is going to sort of exist here. So I'm doing my hand motions here, but sort of exist underneath the main thing. It's like, watch it, enjoy it, but you don't need to watch it to understand.
Right. And you may see this character in like an Avengers film or somebody like, but it's like you don't need to know if
Yeah, and if you see him in the movie and you want to know more about him, then you go back and watch his TV show. Like Moon Knight would be a good example. If Moon Knight turns up and starts running around with the Avengers, somebody might be like, well, "Who's this guy? He seems kind of cool. Oh, go watch his show."
Yeah,
it's almost like the old days with the comic books. You'd buy like some big giant crossover event, and they have all their characters running around. I'd be like, well, who's this guy? He seems pretty neat. Oh, that's so and so. He shows up over in this book, and then you'd go pick up that book, and it's kind of the same thing, but now it's media more versus the comic books.
Yeah. So I think it's a good thing. I hope it doesn't cause more confusion, but I do think, and I guess we should kind of get into what we've been like dancing around for the last
right, I know,
is that they are going to start, Marvel is going to start pulling back. There was an article in Variety I don't know if it was a couple of weeks ago,
I think like a week or two. Yeah.
But it was and it was an article that was sort of discussing all the problems that that Marvel's been experiencing. Like they knew before the Marvels came out that it wasn't going to perform like it should perform.
Right.
Right. I mean, it was no surprise to anybody. That it was part of it was the actors strike. They couldn't.
They couldn't get out.
They couldn't promote it like they normally should, and that kind of stuff. But it was tracking low from the beginning. So this article that came out in Variety was kind of talking about all the problems that Marvel's been having, and the main problems is that it's like they have so much content coming out that Feige has been spread really thin.
Right.
And he's just not doing the quality control that he was able to do on the stuff that before. And I think I absolutely think that's what's, I mean, we've sort of been talking about it in the last several shows about how things with Marvel just, it's almost like it's too much, we were better off when it was like just we were getting 2-3 movies a year, and that was it, right? Like I think in some cases in some ways we were better off then,
right.
Because
like you said, we were much happier then because everything did matter then,
right?
But it was enough to keep up with you. Oh, 3 movies a year, great,
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like you said, there's a constant ongoing. I mean, there's still 3 or there are 4 movies a year sometimes. This year there were 3, but I think
this year there were 3. I don't. Is there? Oh, if there were 4 last year, I think it was only because of COVID.
Maybe that was it. But then the TV shows, just when they start cranking them out, that just got out of control in terms of right, like homework, or like you're like, oh, I want to,
Right.
I think everybody got burnt out,
And when you factor in, I mean, for us, right, like we love all this stuff, right? So when you factor in Star Wars on top of
Oh
this,
man,
it's like constant. I mean, you can't keep up with all
right.
of it. And and it is it does sort of feel like homework sometimes, and it's crazy that it should feel that
I
way,
know,
but
right?
that's
You're like,
kind of where it's at.
I should not be stressed out about my,
Right.
entertainment, viewing, yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that's the biggest thing I think is right. It's just too much. So I figure if they can get Feige, if they can tighten this, basically just tighten everything up, you know, scale back on their content. And I think they're already learning because, like, I think Echo was supposed to be, first of all, to be perfectly honest, I don't know why they're even doing Echo, but I think that's,
I don't know why that shows
I
exists, but
think
okay.
it's a holdover from the content days. Like, I think
Yes.
that must have gotten so far along when they realized, whoa, we got to slow down here. I think that's why we're seeing that. I think we'll still see the um Agatha from WandaVision.
Yeah.
Agatha, they announced her like spinoff like
Long
immediately,
ago. Yeah.
and then like, but it's still out there. I think they're still working on it. Like, I think there must have been enough work done that they're going to do it, but I feel like that was going to come out like they wanted that very quickly, and then I think now they're realizing push it out.
Yeah.
Whether it happens at all, I mean, who knows at this point?
I just like the Echo show was always like, frankly, I'm surprised Echo is even coming out. When they announced that show, I thought, I was like, that we're never going to see that show. Like, I don't even like I couldn't even. I think when they announced it, I was like, who is that? Who is I like? I
Who's
completely
that? Right.
forgot she was in Hawkeye,
Yep. Yeah.
and I was like, of all of these characters we've met, right, that they've
Right.
introduced, this is the one that gets a TV show. Like, it's
Yeah.
just an odd choice.
My thought is that maybe at the time they were like, I know that the mandate was content, so maybe they're like, oh, we can introduce essentially a character that doesn't matter, and then have like again a sub TV show where it's like, you can tell her story. She can sort of touch points like, oh, she knows Daredevil, she knows Kingpin, but like really just tell her story.
Yeah.
And I think like I said, I think that's what they're going to try to do going forward. I don't think we're going to see these big, you know, like I think Loki was the end of the big star having his like TV show type of thing.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I know, like I said earlier, Marvel's going to start doing a much more traditional TV shows. Like they're going to have showrunners and they're going to have all that stuff. So I think it's going to be, if there's going to be like a connection to the larger universe, I think it's going to be much more like end credit scenes. It's going to be like, okay, here's your whole show. We went on a journey. We had a good time.
Yeah.
Like the last episode, give you an end credit. Like, oh, Moon Knight's going to turn up here next, or who, Echo. There'll be a trailer for the Daredevil show, or something like that, maybe.
Yeah, because that's like part of this show is that Kingpin and Daredevil are going to be in it, right? Like that's the rumor.
I know Kingpin is definitely
confirmed. Okay,
because they showed him. They showed him in the trailer. Daredevil, I think, is by extension of Kingpin. I think he's in it also, but I'm not sure.
Okay. I think I've heard it because I've heard he's going to be in it, and he's going to be wearing the suit, not the She-Hulk suit. He's going to be wearing the suit from the show.
Yes, I think
significantly cooler.
Yeah, right. I mean, the yellow thing was, I mean, that was his first costume in the comics, and so it's kind of funny, and it was funny to see it in She-Hulk, but again, it was also kind of like odd. You know what I mean? Because like that was such a serious character, and then they're like, "Well, what's he doing over here with She-Hulk?" It was just weird. It was just weird.
It was that was a weird introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean I'm glad. Like, it's funny that we're like glad that they're pulling back, but I think that's absolutely what needs to happen. It's just
from a just a quality standpoint.
Yeah,
because we can even take it over to Star Wars for a minute and just like Book of Boba Fett we agreed wasn't the best Star Wars show,
right?
And and you can see the holes in it where it's like, I think originally that was probably supposed to just be folded into the Mando show, and and then all of a sudden content. Well, all right, we'll give Boba Fett his own show. And
Yeah.
like, I don't know if that's what happened, but it really feels like they pushed and pushed. And so we're like, all right, let's spin off Boba Fett. And then should have been, what was that? He had 4 episodes and then Mandalorian took over.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you're like, as you're beginning to see it, you're like, I feel like they could have done, anyway. My point is again, by demanding more content, the quality suffered.
Yeah. And one of the things in this article that I thought was really interesting is that everybody complained about how bad the She-Hulk CGI was, and there were definitely episodes where it's like it was really bad. I mean, it was just and I don't usually I'm not like a super like anal guy about the CGI, and when I notice it, like it's pretty bad.
Yeah.
So what they were saying is in the article is part of the reason that was so bad is because at like sort of the last minute they decided, like, apparently She-Hulk, you were never supposed to see her turn into She-Hulk until like the second to last episode or something like that.
Yeah, right.
And at like the last minute, or like just a couple of months before the show was supposed to be done, they reshuffled everything. They decided that you needed to see it at the beginning. So all of a sudden, the people who were doing the CGI had to do a bunch of CGI for this show that was coming out in just a couple of months, and they had to get it done quickly. And that's why it looked as bad as it did.
Yeah, right. It was rushed. Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, these guys can only do so much, and if it's a rush job, it's like you're gonna see it. You're gonna
right. And plus, they're working on other stuff in the meantime, right? Like it's not just
it's not
like they're just doing this thing. Just
Yeah. Well, I think that's where I think as part of the article, isn't that where they talked about bringing the showrunners in now, and I think that way, like, because at this point, like, it was sort of like they would go out and shoot these things, and then like it would sort of be like, I think Feige was like sort of in the editing booth putting a lot of the stuff together, and it was like when it was limited content, he could get away with it and be sort of the eyes and ears of everything.
Yeah.
But now it's like he just can't be everywhere, and I think that's why they're going to start bringing in like a true showrunner and do more traditional TV.
They were saying that apparently, and we've always heard about reshoots. You always hear about reshoots, and everybody's like, "Oh, it's a disaster. It's a reshoot." But apparently, that's part of his process. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's why we always hear about it. It's like they shoot the movie, he watches it, and then looks for what's missing, and then gets everybody back together, and he's like, "Hey, this is what you need to do," and they reshoot. So it's like it's not like that's an indication of everything. That's just how he works. Like others don't work that way, but Feige does.
Yeah.
And so everything is really reshot, or has reshoots for the most part.
I always thought that was funny when it's a reshoot, it's a disaster, and I'm like, well, if you're putting a piece of a movie together and you realize you're missing pieces,
why is that bad?
Elements or cutaways or whatever, why is that bad? They're trying to make a better product.
Right.
So I always found that interesting. I always felt, again, I found that something that people sort of latched onto for
get something to talk about.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, it's going to be awful,
But yeah, it's good to hear. I do think they're going to pull back. I think Bob Iger has said things that he's like, things haven't been the quality of what we expect, and so I think even at the highest levels, I think they're saying, okay, look, we need to slow down a little bit and put a little time into this, and and just be putting out more quality products. And that's really all we're asking for, right? Like, I mean, just like, I don't need I don't need a new show every couple of weeks. But when I sit down to watch it, I want it to be good.
Right.
So that's
and because I was gonna say it would be nice to know like the spotlight terminology. I'm not sure if that's the right terminology, but it would be nice to know, like, hey, this TV show coming on is important. You know what I mean? Like, I was thinking they could brand the shows like, you know how like Star Wars has the racing stripes that go around. It says Star Wars, and then the titles of the old, it would be like Star Wars, and then Empire Strikes Back was in the middle.
Yeah.
I was thinking like for like the show logo for like say if it's Avengers, important to the Avengers, you do something like that, like have Avengers,
Right. Right.
and then
Right.
have the show title in the middle. So you're like, oh, this ties into the Avengers. I want to watch this.
Right.
You
Right.
know, where if it's more like of a like Daredevil, you know, if it's more street level crime, maybe you call it something different. Maybe you have Defenders because that's what their
Yeah.
team was called. You know, do
Right.
something like that, and just so you know, or if they start getting an X-Men stuff, you can have X-Men and then have the show title. You know, like you could brand it that way, type of thing. So
Yeah. That's it. Right.
as they branch out, at least you can be like, oh, I really like the Avengers. Not sure about Daredevil or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it kind of would give people a little bit of focus that way. But
Yeah.
maybe they'll try it with a spotlight and see how that goes. And you know,
Yeah.
you know,
But I'm trying, like, now that they've introduced that concept of the spotlight, which I don't, I think that's a good idea. But like, I've been trying to think back to, all right, well, what have we seen so far, right? And what would have been branded
oh,
spotlight? Like, because I think WandaVision is sort of key, so that would have
right.
been. I think Loki is key, so that would have
right.
been that wouldn't have been.
Falcon and Winter Soldier was, well,
You know,
yeah, that was key. I mean, just because
right,
it's coming out of the movie, so that was key.
right,
I get Moon Knight probably could have been a spotlight, right?
yeah, because I don't think that's going to be
You know, he
right.
might
We
tie
haven't
in with stuff later, but not yet.
not now,
His
right?
Marvel could have been a spotlight, I guess.
But that tied into the movie, so does that?
Right. Well,
I mean, you don't have to see it to see the movie, but it's
yeah, it's like a reverse spotlight. You know what I mean? Like
right.
initially, it could have been like, "Oh, here's Ms. Marvel," and then once the movie came out, they would have been like, "Oh, well, no, now you have."
Yeah.
But it's more like if you like the character, go back and watch her show. You didn't have to see it. You know, like because I think that I mean, the first couple of minutes of the movie, they explain, "Oh, I got this bracelet, it gives me powers." You know what I mean? It wasn't, and you know, oh, their family's around, and that's pretty apparent right away. You're like, "Oh, she's got a clingy, you know, overbearing family." You know what I mean? Like the broad strokes were all there right at the beginning of the movie. So, but you're right. You know, and you don't want to.
She-Hulk probably would have been spotlight because
right, because it's Hulk adjacent, but at the same time, it was silly. So you didn't, you know, what I mean, it was more of a comedy, so you didn't need that. You know, but then again, you don't want to sell something short either. Like,
right.
You know, like, I mean, if say She-Hulk was awesome, right? And you're coming out, here's the Hulk, and here's his cousin who's got these powers now. You don't want to sell it short as a marketing end of things. You don't want to sell, spotlight that, you know, that you're giving people permission not to watch it.
Right.
So
exactly.
Also,
See, that's why I'm
backfired too, you know?
Right. That's why I'm saying is like, I don't hate the idea, but I wonder if it's not going to work out quite the way they want it to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because then it's almost like, oh, well, you don't have to see this show.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I kind of like the idea, what I was saying about, because even with Marvel, they have, what do they call their like magic characters? Spirits of Vengeance or something like that. It's like, you know, so they'll have, I remember this is going back 20 some years, but when I was collecting comics, they had like a crossover with some of their magical characters, and like the header on the comic book, it was the title of whatever the comic was, but the header would say, you know, I just blanked on what I thought the name was, Knights of Vengeance or something like that at the top.
Right.
And then so you know, you're, oh, that's part of this event, but this event you knew was magic based, or you know what I mean? It was like stuff like that where it's, you know, if you're gonna start doing all these shows and branching in, you know, like I said, if somebody really likes X-Men and the mutants, and if they really start getting into all that stuff, well, you need, you know, give me a little X-Men symbol, and then I know that's important to me, type of thing.
Right.
Yeah, but then so it's not saying you don't have to watch. It's just saying, oh, if you like X-Men, you want to watch this. You know, it's kind of an opposite thing. Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think that they've announced that gets canceled? What do you think we don't see now that they're talking about pulling back?
Yeah, I can't, to be perfectly honest, I can't remember what's been announced. One of these things, I don't know if it was from the Marvel or from an article for Star Wars, but like where like they were being Disney was pressuring them into making announcements about upcoming releases before things were even really thought out. Like, you know, I always go back to that one for Lucasfilm. They announced that the I remember they had all these different things going up, and they had
Yes.
like Rangers of the New Republic, and they had all this stuff of Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars, and then they announced they'd acquired the rights to the Book of Bones and something or another. It was something out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then like 6 months later, you found out that Paramount picked up the rights instead, and so Lucasfilm announced it like so early. But I was like, what happened there? But then here, Disney behind the scenes, like they, again, content, they wanted them to
Right.
announce and all that. So I can't remember what is truly in the pipeline. I would have said Echo until they announced it premiering. I thought that was going to be the Agatha thing. I would be, if that's in production, they're not going to stop. I assume we'd get it, but that might be something they might not go forward with. What else? Can you remember anything else?
There's like Ironheart. There's Armor Wars.
So
but Armor Wars was
Yes.
originally a TV show, but then it was going to become a movie.
Yes, I think. Yeah, that's.
But I wonder if we get that at all at this point.
Yeah, because right. I would say, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, well, like, yeah,
because didn't Armor Wars wasn't Armor Wars supposed to build off of Secret Invasion?
Well, yes, I think it was, because remember Rhodey was in that, and remember we found that he was a Skrull.
Yes.
But they never really told you when that happened.
Yeah.
So, and I think what it is he was supposed to be like, once he's back as Rhodey as a not a Skrull, I think then he starts to look into Iron Man's. He finds out Iron Man has died because he didn't know that, and then he starts looking into where's all his tech going, what's happening with all that, and I think that's what's supposed to lead into Armor Wars, and by extension Ironheart somehow, because she's sort of building the armor, I guess, over there. Yeah. I feel like there was another show, but maybe it was Secret Invasion. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and then they shoehorned Ironheart into Black Panther. I remember watching Black Panther, the sequel, and like Ironheart's in there, and I'm just kind of like, why is she in this? Like, it didn't seem like she added very much to the movie itself, other than to an introduction for the spinoff show.
Yeah, and they did that thing that annoys me with Star Wars, right? Like they were like, oh well, we got to put something in here that leads to the next thing, and it's just like, look, I don't mind. We were just talking about like end credit scenes that leave breadcrumbs. That's one thing,
right?
And I enjoy that, but I don't love them spending time on a significant amount of time on a character or in a TV show and the only reason they're spending time with that character is to set up the next show.
Yeah, right.
That's a waste of, look, you got a 2-hour movie. There's only so much time devoted to getting the story across, and I don't want to spend it
I don't need
on something that has nothing to do with this story.
Right. I don't need a half hour of Ironheart.
Right.
When you literally could have had an end credit scene of a girl showing up in Iron Man armor and be like, "Whoa, what's this?" And then I would have gone and watched her TV show to find out more about her.
Exactly.
But instead, she was like all interwoven with the plot, and I just remember the whole time being like, "What? I was more interested in. I mean, we already knew Suri and Namor, and you know what I mean. Like, it was more like you wanted to see that, and she was in there, and it felt very much like, to me, very much just like insert. You know what I mean? Like,
it was it felt very tacked on.
Yes, yeah. So,
and they've been doing the same thing with the Star Wars stuff, and it drives me nuts. Like, if you're going to show me, if I'm getting a show about Boba Fett, give me the show about Boba Fett. Don't give me 3 episodes of Boba Fett and 2 episodes of Mandalorian.
Yeah, right.
Give me the Boba Fett show.
Right. Give me.
And if you don't have enough content to tell a Boba Fett story, then don't do the show. Just do Mandalorian.
Right. I mean, we've said that all along. They should have that should have been season 3. And if you edited it much differently, it would have, it would have been basically Mandalorian, but it would have been a very Boba Fett heavy season.
Right.
Much like Bo-Katan was so heavy this past one. You know what I mean? It would have been something like that, So yeah, but right. That's all. It's now that the mandate is over of content, I think we'll start to see things slow down and hopefully get better. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what. I'm not sure. I mean, really, I haven't heard. I feel like they're like locked into Ironheart only because they put her in the movie. So it's like I feel like they're kind of locked
Yeah,
into.
they might have to do it.
I mean, but maybe not. I mean, maybe they could easily ditch that show if it's not done anything yet. They could easily ditch that and just have her turn up in Young Avengers.
Right.
And if that's a movie, I don't even know what that's going to be. But if that's her, maybe they just put her there, and then they could tell part of her story over there, and then that would be much more I don't know, acceptable because it's like an ensemble type of thing. Maybe I don't know.
I'm betting Young Avengers is a streaming thing. I don't think they're going to roll that out to a film into a film.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know because if it's like all those different, although they're kids, if there's all those different heroes, I feel like you need a bigger budget and like there's powers and
Yeah.
but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or maybe they do a Young Avengers movie and then use that to spin off the kids' TV shows or something.
Yeah, maybe.
Then they'll roll out Ironheart or something. Yeah, I don't know. It all depends. It probably just depends how far they got with developing everything before they can start doing it. I mean, even it seems like early on with Secret Wars, it seems like that was supposed to be a TV show, and then they're like, no, that's going to be a movie now. Not Secret Wars, Armor Wars. I said
Armor Wars.
Armor Wars. Yeah. And maybe they learned their lesson after Secret Wars because that probably should have been a movie because that was like all over the place and you know what I mean. Like if that had been a 2 hour, that could have been a nice tight 2 hour like spy thriller, but instead it kind of meandered all over the place and you know what I mean. Like so maybe they learned their lesson there, or maybe I kind of thought maybe Don, what's his name, Don
Don Cheadle.
Cheadle. I was never gonna say his last name. I always thought he was sort of like, wait a minute, I'm not, I don't want to do a TV show, I want a movie. Like so I thought maybe he threw his weight around, or he's like, I'll do these other TV shows for you, but I want a movie at the end, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
I just wonder if that even happens now, because if that's building off of Secret Invasion and Secret Invasion did not do was like seemingly, I didn't hate that show. I mean, but there were elements that were not great. Like the final and the ending of that show wasn't great.
Right.
And if Armor's Wars is supposed to have a lot to do with that, I just don't know that they're going to get an audience for it. You know what I'm saying?
That's right. That's true. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Because I don't think I love Rhodey, but is Rhodey enough?
Can he carry his own movie?
Can he carry a movie?
Yeah, I don't. Right, you would need a lot more. I mean, unless they did Ironheart's TV show and then went to Secret Armor Wars, but then is Rhodey and Ironheart enough to carry their own movie?
Right.
I'm not. Don't think I'm going to see that
because we know. I mean, not the. I mean, we know who Ironheart is.
Yeah.
Right. But even if you saw Black Panther 2, do you remember Ironheart? Are you going to be, you know what I'm saying? Are you going to see an Ironheart show and be like, who is that? I don't even remember her.
Right.
Because she was not integral to the plot of that film.
Yeah.
I mean, she was there, but
not for anything. That's at this point been a couple of years, and she was, I don't know how old she was supposed to be, but I mean, the actress looked young. By the time they get to the show, she could be. I mean,
right.
I mean, she could have a major growth spurt, or I don't know how old she was. Like I said, how old she was supposed to be, or how old she is. But yeah, I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know. I mean, I think their biggest problem now, if they can tighten things up and get better content, and then they between that and then they have the whole Kang problem with Jonathan Majors. What's his name?
Jonathan Majors. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then with him, I mean, he's going to go on trial and have all these allegations against him, whether they're true or false. I mean, he's going to trial. So it's like that's not good for in general. But it's like, well, do you just recast him? Is, guilty or innocent, just if you're going to stick with Kang, because there's all these rumors that they're going to drop Kang now,
right?
If you're going to stick with him, recast him and just move on. That's I don't think he's a good actor. I liked him. I enjoyed him I enjoyed his roles, but if he's got real life problems, guilty or innocent, recast him.
That's why it's funny because the article acts as if this is a huge
right, dilemma.
And I was like, I don't. I mean, particularly with Kang,
Right.
because you've already set the stage saying that, like, well, your variants don't necessarily have to look exactly like Loki's got a female variant,
Right.
right?
Loki and
and
Sylvie are the
and he's
perfect
got a
example.
crocodile variant. And he's got
Yes.
and
Right.
so you've already introduced that. So just get a new Kang.
Right.
I and now he's Kang. Like
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
why that's such a problem, but I guess it is. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because they're
But
they're talking about, like, in the article they're saying, well, they're if they pivot away. So and it's interesting because there's that line at the end of Loki where they talk about the Quantum Mania Kang, and I wonder if line was inserted
yeah.
to be like, oh well, Kang's not that big a deal now, because they're talking in the article. They're saying, well, they may pivot away from Kang and go towards Doctor Doom, but
Right.
I don't know how that would. I mean, you know more about him than I do.
And
How does that make any sense?
not that I remember. I mean, I don't, to be perfectly honest, I don't know that much about Doctor Doom. I know he's the main villain for the Fantastic Four, but like, I think at some point he's been able to time travel. I think at some point he's been, technological. I think at some point he's had magic. But like, if you're gonna do Doctor, I don't think you could realistically pivot from Kang to Doctor Doom without the Fantastic Four being there,
Yeah.
because they're linked. It'd be like doing Lex Luthor without Superman. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Or
Right.
Joker or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? So that's, to me, what that is. So I'm like, and it would just feel. I think it would feel sloppy.
Yeah.
It would feel tacked on. It would feel like, oh, they're changing gears here. When it's right in front of you, you're like, fine, just recast it. Unless unless they realize that people are getting tired of the multiverse and the timelines, and maybe there's, like I said, there's confusion. Maybe people just aren't digging it, type of thing. But you kind of already have set course for it, so I don't know how you can shift. I don't know how you can shift gears
That drastically.
that drastic.
Because
Exactly.
Doctor Doom I mean, is a completely different villain than Kang.
Yes.
So I don't know how you
Right.
make that work and make it make sense.
Yeah. I mean, you could, and I don't, like I said, I don't know enough about Marvel, but I'm sure there's another time traveling villain. If you wanted to, fine, pivot away from Kang, but you have all those other stuff lined up, time travel related, bring in a different time travel villain, and you could probably just keep moving. But if you bring in Doctor Doom, I feel like that's a whole other thing you're bringing in. You know?
I think that's a mistake if that's what they're talking. Because I would rather them go find yourself another strong actor,
right,
to play the role of Kang, and nobody's even going to remember it.
Right,
nobody's going to care.
Right.
All you got to do is execute go get a really strong actor, execute the character, and nobody's going to give a damn who it was that was playing him.
They did it with the Incredible Hulk. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And they did it with War Machine. So
right.
It's like they've done it before, and they've never danced around, or it's just here, boom, this is what's happening.
Right.
And I'm like, and with Kang, I mean, in Ant-Man, he had the little purple thing to go down. So if you're that worried about it, put the purple visor over. I mean, you'll still be able to see the guy's face, but if you're that worried that he's not going to look, identical, you know what I mean? Like, fine, or I mean, at the very end of Quantum Mania, the end credit scene there, I do remember it now. They had the Council of Kangs. Remember, they were all
right.
They were all Jonathan Majors and or whatever. But like, I think one of them was like an Egyptian version, and but they had all these different things. But it's like, fine. Oh, behind that guy over there is a different Kang that looks a little bit different.
Right. Well, they're saying, I mean, it was never confirmed, but they are saying that at the end of Loki, like Renslayer in Loki, a lot of people were speculating that she was a variant of Kang.
Oh, okay.
Now they never confirmed that, but that's a lot of the talk is that she's a Kang variant.
Yeah. Oh, that could be kind of cool.
So like that's what I'm saying. Like, just lean into that.
Right. Yeah, because at the end, we didn't talk about that when we talked about Loki, but at the end, they show her in the void, I think, at the end,
Right.
and then that purple thing, there's a purple glow. I thought it was the monster that lived at the end that was
Right.
caught. I thought that got her. I thought they were implying that. But then again, Kang's color, he's purple, right? So they could have
Right.
been, was he arriving to gather her? Because doesn't he, they were
Or to save her. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
they alluded, yeah, right.
Well, he says that how he wins the war, the multiversal war, is that he and Renslayer are able to learn how to control that beast
right
that lives in the void, and then they weaponize that beast to
okay
to eliminate everybody else.
Right.
So that's part of the question. Well, is Loki becoming God of Stories? Is that just creating the loop, right? So now Renslayer's in the void, and she may be able to learn how to control the beast. That then,
right. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
So that's all part of I mean, none of that's confirmed, but that's what people were talking like. Well, is this just the loop that that they were talking about the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it would be a huge mistake to move away from Kang. I mean, they have a whole movie with his name in it, like you know what I mean, like so something's coming there, and it's supposed to be the big Avengers movie, and I mean, to just no, like I mean, just like I said, just to change gears. Well, what's gonna happen? I mean, I assume there's all kinds of pre-production stuff done for these movies, and you know what I mean, like so. You just can't you can't copy and paste the one villain for another. I mean, you could, it's just not going to work, I think.
Go get that guy. What's his name? He's supposed to be Blade. Marshall Ali. I can never figure out how to say his name.
Yes,
but he was. Go get him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it was apparently the Blade movies and as having all kinds of trouble.
Yeah, well, that's part of this in this article too.
Yeah, right. Well, fine. He got him under contract. Bring him in. Let him be. Kang.
Bring him. Yeah, right. Be like, you want to be Blade or you want to be Kang?
Yeah, right? But yes, I mean, there's I don't know. I don't understand the fear. I don't understand when that happened. Like, when did it become taboo to recast somebody? Because I mean, it always used to happen.
It's so strange. Right? I really don't understand it at all.
I mean, did it happen with? I mean, Black Panther, they made a big deal about, and I understand it, but Black Panther, the character's been around since the 1960s something.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, so why was that one actor so tied to him? Okay. I mean, I get it, but I don't. Just from like I don't know.
But it's not like look, I get. I get that you don't want to.
Oh, right.
Right. But like, if the choice is recasting the actor or completely changing the story,
right? Completely scrapping your 5-year plan or whatever,
right? Then just recast the actor. Like, nobody's going to. I don't think. I mean, look, the internet complains about everything. They're going to complain about that. Like, that's just the reality. Right. But if you get a good actor to execute on the character, nobody's going to care.
No, and I mean, if you're worried people are going to be confused, you have the guy do some press and say, just say, oh, I'm playing Kang in this movie. I'm a variant, and that's okay, fine. If you don't even have to get into the legal stuff with the other guy,
right?
Just, I mean, or come up with a clever sequence where, oh, this is the real Kang, or you know what I mean? Like, there's so many with time travel and all these variants. There's so many ways around.
Right. Like, it's tailor made for
right.
Like, it would be different. Like, Star Wars, I guess, is different. Like, I feel the same way about Star Wars personally. I know other people have a problem with it, but Star Wars is a different story because it's a linear story, and they don't have that like time travel or different dimension element to it.
And then, like in Carrie Fisher's case, like, she was Princess Leia,
right?
Whereas, like I said, like Black Panther, he's been around forever. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, and Kang's been around forever. Like, I mean, all these characters. It's great that there's an actor there to portray them and play them, but at the end of the day, the character is, what I mean. The character is more than that actor or actress type of thing.
Right. Yeah. I just don't. I don't understand it personally. It's
Yeah.
probably more like for studios. It's probably more like, well, this is a bankable star.
Yes.
And we don't want to replace that bankable star with somebody else. Like, I guess that's what it is. But I mean,
guess, but
to me, it doesn't make any sense.
If your bankable star is on trial, what I mean?
Right.
Like, then it's like, well,
there's lots of actors.
right?
Like, that's what I'm saying. And that's always my, even, and I, like I said, I feel the same way about Star Wars. Like, look, I want to see stories in that 30-year time period between Return of the Jedi
yes,
and The Force Awakens. I want to see that. That's
right.
That's the prime of the characters we love, and I want to see those stories. If you've got to go out and get new actors to play those roles, then go do it.
Please do, because I feel
please.
At this point, the originals are either not alive or they're too old, and that's fine. If you want to bring Mark Hamill on set and have him consult, great. I mean, include him. Harrison Ford, I don't think could care less, but if he wants to come around, sure, bring him around. You know what I mean? But so be respectful to their performances and be respectful to that. But I mean, they already recast Han Solo once anyway.
Right.
I mean, so it's like, just there's a way to do it. I mean, I know it was the early days for Marvel, but I don't think they even really minced words. They're just like,
they did, right. There was no explanation. They just did it.
Yeah, this guy's the Hawk now. Okay.
Right.
And then, I mean, there wasn't.
And that's how it needs to be. Like, just I don't know. I don't understand all this hand wringing. Just do it.
And and I mean, maybe it's more to do with legal reasons. Like in this case,
maybe. Yeah, that's a good point.
He's under contract, and behind the scenes, they're probably like, we would love to just fire this guy and replace him, but there's a contract and there's legal stuff. And then, I mean, not for anything, but the guy hasn't been tried yet. So it's like, if he is guilty, then you can say you're fired. But if he isn't guilty and you've already replaced him, then you kind of look like jerks. And you know what I mean? It's probably much because of the trial, it'd be different than if he wasn't accused officially of something. If he was just a jerk and they fired him, that'd be different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I did read that his trial, I can't find it in the article just as I'm scrolling through it, but I think I did read that his trial is coming up.
Okay.
So if something's going to happen, it's going to happen. Like you're saying, they can't really do anything before,
right?
Because he's been accused, but he's not guilty of anything yet.
But you would, yeah. I mean, I don't know at this point. Would it pay to just pay him off? You know what I mean? Be like,
right. Well, that's
You know what I mean? But they're probably very afraid of just being like tried, because again, if they fire him and replace him, people are going to have opinions. But it's going to be like, oh, they shouldn't have fired him and this and that. Like maybe they're trying to avoid all that nonsense too. You know?
Well, I mean, I will say this: it doesn't look great for him, because apparently his I think his promotion company dropped him. Like, it doesn't. That's not a great sign. I mean, again, the guy isn't guilty until they say he's guilty, but it seems that everybody's running for the hills, so that's not a great sign for what's going on.
I mean, maybe, and not for anything, but I don't know when they announced all those things. I feel like they announced the next Avengers movies, but at the time I thought they were pretty.
They were way in the future. Yeah.
Well, that's far. Yeah.
I think that's one of the things. I don't know if it's this article or that one the other one I sent you, but they said that was what you were saying. They were pressured into Marvel was like, they were like, look, we need titles, and because we've got this, it's like we were talking about this a few shows ago. they have these fan events, and they've got to have stuff to talk about.
Right.
So
right.
so we think they like I really get the sense that Disney's like beating the bushes, and it's true of Star Wars, it's true of Marvel, and it's true for the parks. Like when they talk about
that's
the
right. You said
parks,
that.
they're like beating the bushes, like give us something.
Right.
Even if it doesn't happen, even if it's just like
Because
pie in the sky theories.
What do they call that on Blue Sky, right?
Blue sky, right?
Yeah.
Like give us
'Cause
something,
I
and then
feel-
so that we can talk about.
Yeah, because I feel like the last Disney thing they had, it was like announcement, and then like Blue Sky. It was like,
Right.
and you're like, well, that's nice, but none of that stuff is happening,
Right.
yeah. So yeah, who knows? Everyone's all this hand wringing about Kang and all this stuff. They may not have even started on those movies yet because maybe it just wasn't in the pipeline yet.
Right. They might be right.
It. Yeah.
They might be writing them, but
As a
they're
matter of
probably,
fact,
but there's probably they've probably done nothing with them.
Right. They did announce the guy that was supposed to direct it. He left. He's not going to direct it anymore.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember. He had done something else, and I can't remember what he had done. Then he did a good job on that. And then they're like, oh, they gave him. Maybe he did Shang-Chi. And I think instead of doing Kang, they said he's going to go and work on the sequel to Shang-Chi, maybe.
Okay.
But even that, like that feels like that was like an eternity ago. By now, like that we should have seen that character again by now, and we haven't.
Well, right. And you and I were talking about this the other night. Like one of the things I feel like is missing in this new phase or these new phases is there's no like central character. Like the other in the first few phases of the Marvel universe, it was clear that everything was sort of built around Iron Man and Captain America, right? Like those were the two big. I mean, of course, Thor was big and Hulk was big, but those were the two. Like they were the center of everything.
They were the main
else.
Guys, right? They were right, exactly.
And
whereas now,
and I don't feel that at all now.
Yeah.
Like I don't know who I mean, it doesn't feel like there is a center.
Yeah. I mean, like, Falcon became Captain America and we haven't seen him in what, like 2 years?
Right.
Like if you would think he should have
been just have him show up in a cameo. Just have him.
He should have been all like, he should be all over the place basically because if he is truly your Captain America, he should have been all over the place. Right. I mean, I know his movie's coming out. That's another one, but that won't be out till that'll be in 2025.
Yeah, I don't think it's in 2020. Yeah, it's definitely not in 2024.
Right. So I mean, we keep saying this. Maybe that's, but I at this point I'm kind of getting tired of feeling that way.
Right, exactly. It's been a couple of years now.
Yeah, I almost feel like you need like you either need to get like figure out what's going on with Fury or figure out what's and like start. Yes, it's repeating yourself, but have somebody be like, we're putting together the new Avengers team and have them start being at the end credits. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They did it a little bit. Remember at the end of Shang-Chi, they had him and it was Hulk and Captain Marvel, I think. And they're like, oh, we're getting something from deep space and it's tied to your bracelets or the rings.
Oh, they did? Do
you remember that at the end of that? Because the Hulk wasn't the Hulk. He was Bruce Banner. And I think it was Captain Marvel was next to him.
It's been so long. So I sort of remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember them being there. But I
remember like being interested because I'm like, oh, like here we go, Avengers, and then that was dropped, and I don't know if his rings were.
Well, they talked about the rings. The rings played a role in the Marvels.
They did.
Didn't they? Yeah, because the rings. Or did I see that somewhere else? Okay, no. Okay, all right. So the ring. How did it come into play? The rings come into play. I think I'm thinking of a recap.
Okay,
but the rings come into play because the rings and the bangle.
Are they linked somehow?
Are linked somehow.
Oh, from the Kree, I guess.
Maybe. Right. And remember when in Ms. Marvel, when she finds the first bangle,
right,
it's attached to the arm of a Kree.
Yes.
It's a blue arm, and in the
Yes.
background is one of the 10 ring. Is the banner of the 10 rings.
Okay.
And so it's like, oh, there's something going on with the ring and the bangle.
Got it. Okay.
I thought they touched on it in Ms. Marvel, but I think you're right. They didn't talk about it. I think I'm
Okay.
just thinking of something else.
Yeah, yeah. So okay. So I guess that threat still might be out there then that they teased at the end of Shang-Chi.
Yeah, but you know what?
You know,
It's funny you say because I totally forgot about that.
right.
That end credit scene should have been at the end of this movie
Right. I mean,
because
like,
then
hey,
it would have been like, oh, okay,
oh, there's another link. Oh, now,
Yeah, right.
yeah, like, oh, we got this little band together. Oh, now here's Shang-Chi. We're going to start, So
Interesting.
yeah,
I have to go back. I've actually been wanting like a lot of those movies that came out, like Shang-Chi and even the Doctor Strange movie, because I don't really remember anything.
it's
I
gotten
remember
hard.
seeing them, but I don't remember anything about them. I want to go back and watch those movies again.
It's gotten hard. I feel like, I mean, because of the content, and I don't want to say a lot of it was. It's not filler, but it. A lot of it was just getting us. Like Shang-Chi was its own thing. I felt like, but like I feel like Doctor Strange's sequel was like, in my mind, it was getting us somewhere else. Like like the story was one thing, but it was more about at the time, oh, the multiverse and all that stuff. So it's probably
Right,
would pay to go back and look at those again and just watch it for what it is. You know what I mean? Just to
right,
be like,
right.
oh, here's an adventure, or you just because we kept, we were so focused on what's next, and we
And they
probably
didn't
should.
really give us much.
And
Yeah,
we left disappointed every single time, so we probably should go back and look at them
yeah.
and just see, well, what was this movie about without all that crap, take out all my expectations. What was it
Yeah.
really about,
And I've been seeing. It's funny, like I've been seeing things online. I don't know how true they are, but like I've been seeing things online where where like the actress who played Scarlet Witch, I can't think of her name,
Elizabeth Olsen.
Elizabeth Olsen, is saying that that's it for Scarlet Witch. Like she's done.
Oh,
And I was
okay.
that's the end of her story. Like
Hmm,
that seems
right.
not right.
I think it's the
I
end
don't
of her
know if
story for now. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, I mean, if they right, who knows? You know what I mean? Again, they left it in such a way they had that. Remember the red flash, and they're like, "Oh, she got
yeah,
crushed," but you're like, "She teleported away."
yeah.
Like
There's no way she died that way. No way.
right, yeah. So it's like when they're ready for her, they'll bring her back, and if assuming the actress wants to, and all that stuff too. But
Yeah.
maybe she's trying to say she's done, or maybe she's just oh nope, that's it.
Maybe she's looking for a payday.
It could be that too. you know.
Who knows?
Yeah, well, I mean, even with Loki, like we're like we got to see him again, right? I mean, this especially with all the time stuff, but like you sort of what you're reading and made it seem like, oh, this might be the end of Loki, and this might be, like
Yeah.
there's there's the narrative of it all, and it's like, well, are you messing? Like on one hand, I'm like, oh, is this calculated? Are you messing with us because you want us to be surprised when Loki does turn up later? Or is it just people being like, oh, this is it for Loki? Like, click on my article.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Right. Right. Yeah. I know.
yeah. So,
I
I think things are going to move in the right direction. I mean, like I said, like less content and just tighten it up, and I think we'll be happy. It was like you said,
yeah.
it sounds funny by saying that, but it is really, and it's like, and if they can come up with a way to just let us know, not even us, let everyone know what's important versus what just might be fun to watch. That would
Yeah.
be
Right.
that'd be a
Right.
good start too. Yeah,
Yeah. Agreed.
because always some poor guy's not there like watching Echo on the edge of a seat, like what's next? It's all connected, and it's like, dude, there's nothing next.
Right. Well, that's and it's like a recipe for disappointment. Like kind of
Yes.
like what we've been experienced with all these movies is like
Yeah,
this is the one, and then nothing happens, and it's like,
right,
well, that was kind of disappointing, even though the movie wasn't bad,
right.
but it's you leave like kind of disappointing. Well, it didn't take me anywhere,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Well, right. I will say, think about the Marvels. If those two end credits weren't on that movie, I think I would have left disappointed. The movie itself was perfectly fine and it was
right.
enjoyable.
I agree
But
with that. That
but
makes yeah.
if it didn't have those two hooks at the end, I think I would have been like, well, okay,
That was okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But with
There-
those two, it breadcrumbs. That was like, all right, now I'm excited for these two next things,
Right, right. Yeah,
So,
that's a good point. Yeah, that's true.
so yeah, we'll have to see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure there's bigger brains than ours sitting around doing the same
Yeah.
thing right now. Panic mode now.
I think they are. I could when this, because this is like, this is their bread and butter. Like this is like it's like the money machine, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What did I think I just read like he's Kevin Feige has made 33 movies for them
Okay.
since they bought it, and he's made I forget how many billions of dollars for them.
Oh, all right. So
Like
this
that's
is the
crazy. Yeah, so this is like it's like the cash machine for them.
cash machine, exactly right. Yeah, so right, they're panicking. Well, we did say that too, because even the promos for the Marvels, like they had like Avengers Endgame footage in the beginning, and like played the Avengers theme, and like
Yeah.
they're trying to remember when everything was really good, and they're trying to entice people.
That is absolutely when I knew this movie was in trouble. When I saw those trailers, and I was like, "This is a trailer for Endgame."
You're like, okay, they're panicking now.
They've got a problem. They've got problems.
I know, right?
But
well,
what is all right? So I guess that. But like, what do we have coming up? Because I know. What is What If? Like I saw the trailer for What If.
Oh, I forgot.
When is that coming?
I think I read that's over. That's like around right around Christmas. I think right around towards the end of December. I totally forgot about that, and I forgot about the trailer tonight. Yeah, that's coming out. I think they're going to drop that all at once. I think I read instead of being, instead of week to week. I think they're going to drop that all at once, and maybe that's part of their strategy too. Is just like something like that. Just certain things they might do a show like week by week, and then other things just drop it once, and then you can binge it all if you want, or you can watch it when you want to. Like so,
yeah.
Another way of saying like, hey, this isn't, this isn't urgent. Maybe. I do remember the trailer there. It looked like they were continuing certain stories. Like I think I saw the Star-Lord, T'Challa as Star-Lord. I think he's back. Maybe.
Oh, really?
Well, I don't know how they would do that because they used it. That was his like last performance with the Chadwick Boseman in the first one. That was his voice. I don't know how they would do that. So maybe I'm not right. But then
honestly, I haven't even seen the trailer. I mean, I saw that the trailer came out, but I didn't actually sit down and watch it.
So we can talk about that next time. Then, but so we have What If coming out, and then Echo, and then
is there any Star Wars coming up?
No, I mean, Star Wars. Nothing's been announced. I know we have the Bad Batch season 3 is coming at some point, but I don't know if that'll be where that'll be. If it's. I think last year it was like around February or March, I think is when it came out. So maybe February, March. And then there's the Skeleton Key show.
When's
Star Wars?
I
don't know. That hasn't been announced yet either, but I think that's this year too.
Okay.
But yeah, it's really like, maybe they learned their lesson, and maybe they're holding off a little bit now. You don't want to
I'm just surprised because they usually have something out for Christmas. Like last year it was the Hawkeye show.
Yeah.
So they've been doing something for the the Christmas show,
right.
And so I'm a little surprised they don't have anything coming up.
Yeah, you're right.
Whatever.
I know. I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think nothing.
Okay.
And now that you say it, like I don't think anything for Star Wars is announced. I mean, I know that we know where they're working on them, but I don't think they've announced anything there. And maybe they learned their lesson. They're like, you know what? We certainly don't want to announce something that's not even the ink's not even dried or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but also it might be more like, okay, just here's a show. Let's watch this. That ends. Oh, here's the next show. Like maybe a little baby steps to keep people so they're not like, I got like 5 shows coming out. How am I going to watch all these shows?
Yeah, right. Interesting.
So it could be one of the reasons why they waited so long too for Doctor Who. Like, you know what I mean? They just wanted they didn't want to promote it too long out, maybe because they didn't want to, like, no, it's coming this month. It's here, like maybe they're finding that that's more beneficial. I don't know.
I wonder if I'm curious to see if they get any how Doctor Who does.
Yeah.
On Disney Plus.
I mean,
I'm very curious. It is like, I mean, it's like family fare, right? Like there's nothing that's anything. It's like an action show, but there's nothing like that's
never anything offensive in it. You know,
right?
I mean?
So I'm curious to see how it does out there.
Yeah,
We'll
I would
see.
think. I mean, and the fact that it's been around for 60 years, and then like I mean, I'm sure Disney did all the research, so it's like, oh, they're bringing it to Disney Plus, they're investing in it, and all that stuff. So, I mean, like I said, it must all align. Everything must align right. But again, you never know who's going to tune in. So
Yeah,
I'll be curious how that works.
yeah. I just hope they don't. But I'm sure BBC. Like, I hope they don't dabble too much into how they do things. You know what I'm saying?
I don't.
I don't think they will, but
I don't. My understanding was it was just more of a money. Like they said, here's money. We're going to invest money in you, but there's always strings attached with money, so you never know. I mean,
right,
like
right,
said at
right,
the beginning, they're already saying like, oh, we wanted this to be season 0 or season 1. Like
right.
so. I mean, they might. Who knows? I
Yeah,
guess if someone's giving you money, I guess you have to listen to them. But at the same time, if you're buying like an established product like that, it's like no, this is Doctor Who. Like this is it.
yeah. I'm just like, we'll know if it's not out there long, we'll know.
Yes, right.
Right. It's not doing that well.
Right. You'll be like,
I
oh,
hope it does.
okay.
I hope it does
So
great out there.
too.
I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It definitely makes a perfect little home for it, with Disney
Yeah.
and everything.
And if
So,
it gets more eyes on it and more people
right.
interested in it, great.
Right. Exactly. That's all you can ask for, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
All right. Yeah. All right. So is that about it for tonight, I guess?
Yeah, I guess that'll wrap us up.
Okay.
Yeah, so make sure Doctor Who, if you're interested in it, comes out the 25th.
Right.
It's the first episode. Check it out there. And with that, I guess we'll wrap up the show tonight. So wishing everybody Thanksgiving is this week. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. And you can follow us on Instagram. We're on Twitter, whatever Twitter is now. X.
Yeah.
At Geek Hangout Pod. That's
right.
slowly collapsing,
That's
isn't it?
yeah.
Yeah.
We're on Threads.
We're on Threads, but I don't know what are we there.
I don't either.
I don't even know.
Whatever we are on Instagram. I think it's just Geek Hangout Podcast.
Okay. At Geek Hangout Pod.
Yeah.
So all right. So thanks for listening tonight. Hope you enjoyed the show. And we will talk to you all next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for listening and or watching.
All right.
That was good. What was that, about 2 hours?
Yeah.
I think so. Right, 8:30.
I think it was a good. I think we did.
Yeah.